In my previous life, my husband died in a car accident, leaving me with $1 million debt. On the day of his burial, I unexpectedly learned from my mother-in-law that 3 months earlier, he had won over $30 million in the lottery. He gave $5 million to his younger sister, $5 million to his parents, and the rest to his ex-wife. He didn't give a single penny to me and my daughter, leaving us with over $1 million in debt. I'm a very petty woman, and I died of anger on the spot. In the blink of an eye, I was reborn back to 3 months earlier. When I opened my eyes again, I was in the kitchen. On the cutting board was a black fish, already killed. The fish was jumping and struggling, splashing water all over my face. It was fishy and disgusting. I looked around the kitchen. The counter was piled with a jumble of meat and vegetables waiting to be processed, and food scraps were everywhere. At that moment, I heard the cheerful laughter of a large family coming from the living room. I wondered why my husband, Ding Jun, had gathered his parents' and sister's family together for a meal since it wasn't a holiday. It turned out he'd won the lottery and come over to celebrate. Thinking about how he'd had a whopping 30 million yuan in prize money after taxes in his past life, while I hadn't even gotten a penny, anger surged within me. I slammed the cleaver into the cutting board with a bang, cleaving the large blackfish in two. Before the fish was even fully opened, blood gushed onto the board. Oh, man likes steamed fish. How can you steam it like this? It's disgusting. My sister-in-law, Ding Jiamin, shrilly rang in my ears. The man she was referring to was my husband, Ding Jun's daughter from his previous marriage. I was in my first marriage, my husband was in his second. He had a daughter with his ex-wife. And I have a daughter with him too. She's always nagging. Here, take the knife, Ding Jiamin said, covering her nose in disgust and backing away. I only know how to work. I've never done this kind of work before. Sister-in-law, you're a housewife, eating my brother's food, living in my brother's house, and you can't even handle a fish properly. What can you do? I can't do it. So you do it yourself. I deftly ripped off my apron and threw it on the counter. Ding Jiamin started lecturing. You get angry after just a few words. A housewife with a bad temper is no good. Ding Jiamin had close ties with Ding Jun's ex-wife. He always looked down on me. A full-time housewife. I forced a smile and didn't argue with him. Leaving the kitchen, I saw my daughter, Nyo, blankly holding a doll with a ripped belly, crouching in the corner. My in-laws and Ding Jun were chatting and laughing around Ding Man, dressed like a princess, completely oblivious to the fact that 3-year-old Nyo was alone in the corner, looking strange. Nyo has autism, which is why the Ding family doesn't like her. I thought of my past life. I painstakingly prepared a huge feast for them, only to find a pile of leftovers left when I sat down at the table. Poor Nyo was ignored, not even given a seat, and ended up eating the leftovers with me. I had no tears, only anger. Screw family fun. I grabbed my purse, took Nyo's hand, and headed out. Ding Jun called out to me. Where are you going? Everyone's waiting. Who's going to cook if you leave? I suppressed my anger and forced a smile. We're out of vinegar. I'll go buy some. Ding Jun stood up. We're waiting for dinner. You cook at home while I go buy some. I countered. White vinegar, red vinegar, rice vinegar, fruit vinegar, balsamic vinegar, aged vinegar. Do you know which one to buy? Ding Jun hesitated for a moment, then urged me to hurry. Ding Jiamin came out from inside. Sister-in-law, don't take Nyo with you. Hurry back. We're going to see a movie after dinner. I'm worried about leaving Nyo behind. I snorted coldly, pulled Nyo out the door, took out my phone, swiped, and promptly turned it off. They want to wait for me to come back and cook. Go eat shit. Disgusting Ding family. I took Nyo out for her favorite pizza and then to the playground to play in the sand. I played for 5 or 6 hours. I also spent 5 or 6 hours reflecting and calming down. I didn't leisurely go home until it got dark. Everyone had already left. Ding Jun sat on the sofa with a sullen face. He immediately questioned me. You finally know how to come back. The whole family is waiting for you to come back and cook. You just wandered around for most of the day without a word. Your phone was off too. Mom and Dad came home hungry. Don't you have any sense of being a wife or daughter-in-law? You leave your family unattended. The food in the kitchen was indeed untouched. Ding Jun's stomach was rumbling. Everyone here is someone who expects to be waited on hand and foot. Nobody cooked while I was gone. How ridiculous. I forced a smile. Oh, It's all my fault. I didn't even realize my phone was dead. Honey, are you hungry? I'll cook for you right away. I quickly prepared 3 dishes and a soup, smiling as I tried to smooth things over for Ding Jun's sullen face. Do you know why I came home so late? Ding Jun said irritably. How should I know? I lowered my voice mysteriously. A classmate of mine has some connections. We happened to run into each other and started chatting. Guess what? He told me some news. Our district's government service hall and many other departments are going to relocate to the Haitang Lake area. They're also going to build a subway, prepare schools, and construct a large shopping mall. Ding Jun sat down, picked up his chopsticks, and looked suspicious. Really? Is that true? His father is the second in command of our city. How could he lie? Ding Jun remained silent. He knew I had such a classmate. Do you know what this means? Houses in that area are going to go up in price. Ding Jun couldn't help but scoff. Can you afford it? Didn't you win the lottery? 30 million. That's enough to buy more than 30 houses in Haitang Lake. Ding Jun's pupils shrank. He asked in a muffled voice. Who told you that? I checked your lottery ticket. Didn't you go to collect your prize this morning? Weren't you planning to give me and Nyo a surprise? I asked 3 questions in a row. Ding Jun's expression became unnatural. After a long pause, he finally snorted. You already know. What kind of surprise is this? If I hadn't asked, he would have kept it from me. Just like in my past life, I was filled with extreme hatred, but outwardly remained calm. This was truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Our family had just won the lottery, and I had learned of this incredible good news. We should buy now, wait for the price to rise, and then sell. We could at least triple our investment. 30 million would become 100 million. We wouldn't have to work for the rest of our lives. Ding Jun was somewhat tempted. But we have to hurry. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I was telling the truth. Half a month before Ding Jun's death, the news was indeed officially announced. The next day, the surrounding property prices rose by 1/3. By the day Ding Jun died, the prices had quadrupled. I wasn't afraid of him verifying it. I believed that a very small number of people had known the news in advance and acted quietly. If Ding Jun went to verify, it would confirm what I said. Sure enough, Ding Jun finished his meal, put down his chopsticks, and went out. He came back beaming. He rarely praised me. I couldn't help but sneer inwardly. *humph. Short-lived rich. Once you're dead, the house will all be mine and Nyo's. I tossed and turned all night, unable to sleep. My mind kept replaying Ding Jun's words on the day of his burial. Ding Jun had given all that large sum of money to his ex-wife. How could his sister-in-law and mother-in-law be willing? That wasn't 200 yuan. It was 2,000 yuan. A full 20 million. Didn't they have any objections? There must be something fishy going on that I didn't know about. My doubts aside, I didn't have time to investigate. My immediate priority was to secure Ding Jun's money. After Ding Jun fell asleep, I secretly got up and checked his bank account. Besides the 30 million yuan bonus, there was also over 100,000 yuan in savings. The money hadn't been transferred out yet. Thankfully, I didn't need to bother getting it back. Ding Jun worked in a private company as a mid-level manager. His family was of modest means. In my first marriage, I gave my child and the house to my ex-wife. The house I live in now is the one I lived in before my marriage. My parents left me a house before they passed away. After I started working, I used my savings and investments to buy this new house. The cost of living in a third-tier city is not high. There is no pressure from a mortgage or car loan. My ex-wife pays 1,000 yuan a month in child support. His salary and my usual investment income are more than enough to cover it. It was only this year that Nyo was diagnosed with an illness, which cost a lot of money. Otherwise, my savings would probably be even higher. I still have 100,000 yuan in savings from before my marriage, but I haven't touched it. The next morning, Ding Jun urged me to go to the real estate market. He hadn't quit his job and had to go to work today, so he didn't have time to go. I readily agreed. I used my own money to hire a private investigator to keep an eye on Ding Jun's ex-wife, in-laws, and sister-in-law, so that they wouldn't cause any trouble before Ding Jun died. Then I took Nyo to look at the real estate developments near Haitang Lake. I added 7 or 8 salesgirls and agents to my contacts. I heard from the agents that they would inquire about it in the next few days. The house was getting crowded. Ding Jun put down his chopsticks. I'll take tomorrow off and go with you. It's foolish not to make money when it's available. Ding Jun was anxious. Human desires are endless. After a windfall, another once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get rich was presented to him. How could he not be anxious? Before I could speak, his phone rang. It was his sister-in-law calling. I strained my ears and barely caught her angry first words. Brother, why haven't you transferred the money to me yet? I've already found a car. I'm just waiting for you to transfer the money to pay. Ding Jun glanced at me, put down his chopsticks, and went to the balcony. In my past life, Ding Jiaomin drove a BMW, showing off in front of me, implying that I was a freeloader who only knew how to ask my husband for money. So that's how she got that BMW. After the call ended, Ding Jun's face was a little pale. They probably hadn't reached an agreement. I wasn't surprised. In my past life, there was no such thing as a house. He won the lottery and bought his younger sister a BMW worth hundreds of thousands, which is normal. Based on my not-so-accurate understanding of Ding Jun, I estimate that those millions were also given to Ding Jiaomin by him on his deathbed, when he had the car accident. I took Nyo back to my hometown to visit my parents' graves. By the time I rushed back, he had already passed away. Jiaomin's car was only 2 years old, and she wanted a new one so soon. Ding Jun didn't say anything. I continued. Old Ding. It's not that I'm stingy. 30 million is a lot. But if you spend it recklessly, it will be gone in no time. Instead of giving Jiaomin a car, you should buy her a house first. Cars depreciate. But houses don't. I know that. I put a piece of stewed pork on her plate and said very considerately, your BYD has been driven for 7 or 8 years. If you're going to replace it, you should replace it first. This was exactly what he wanted to hear. And a comfortable expression appeared on his face. It's not too late to buy after the house issue is settled. I smiled and nodded in agreement. But inwardly, I cursed him as a scoundrel. In my past life, he drove home a Mercedes, claiming it was a company car. He tricked me terribly. Ding Jun worked hard for several days, trading 9 high-rise apartments, 2 villas, and 4 shops. Some were completed. Others were under construction. He spent a total of over 21.4 million yuan, adding the 1 million yuan spent on the Mercedes. And with the lottery winnings, he still had over 7 million yuan left. Money shouldn't be all in one place. Ding Jun didn't plan to buy any more houses with the remaining money. Thanks to my advance payment 3 months in advance, my investment profits increased 5-fold. With my smooth-talking persuasion, I successfully got Ding Jun to transfer 5 million yuan to my investment account. At this point, Ding Jun had over 2 million yuan left. Just as I was racking my brains about how to get the money from Ding Jun, Ding Jiaomin, who had been waiting for the money to buy a BMW, arrived. Ding Jun's ex-wife and Ding Man came to the door. Ding Jun's ex-wife was a gentle and graceful woman. She was good-looking and knew how to dress. She was much prettier than me. A housewife who only knew how to stay in the kitchen with her husband and children. As soon as she walked in, Ding Jun was like a dog seeing shit. He couldn't take his eyes off her. No wonder he was willing to give her so much money in my past life. Could it be that he still had feelings for her? I hate that I was blind in my past life. I was only focused on Nyo and didn't pay any attention to Ding Jun's little tricks. This dog of a man is really despicable. I coughed lightly. Ding Jun quickly looked away. Why are you here? This is my brother's. This is Man's biological father's house. We can't come. Perhaps Ding Jun hadn't sent her money. Ding Jiaomin's tone was very bad. Ding Jun's ex-wife scolded him. Jiaomin, how can you talk like that? I'm going on a business trip next week. I brought Man over and just happened to run into Jiaomin on the way. So we came together. After dropping Ding Man off and putting her things down, Ding Jun's ex-wife left. Ding Jun told Man to go play in Nyo's room. But I stopped her. Nyo was looking at picture books and didn't like being disturbed. As soon as I finished speaking, Ding Jiaomin laughed. How can she understand anything with that silly look on her face? Sister-in-law, did you do too many bad things in your past life? That's why Nyo is so stupid. Look how smart Man is. She got 2 perfect scores again today. And she's still number 1. I looked at Ding Jun. His expression was normal. He didn't take Ding Jiaomin's words seriously at all. I knew he didn't like Nyo, but his attitude still infuriated me. Nyo is like this. And you, as her aunt, are so happy. Ding Jun finally spoke up. Jiaomin, no matter what, Nyo is still your niece. Ding Jiaomin glared at me, snorted coldly, and then turned to cling to Ding Jun, acting coquettishly. Brother, when are you going to send me the money? I've been eyeing that car for so long. It's only a little over 400,000. You're going to pay for it for me. The siblings have always had a good relationship. Ding Jiaomin's coaxing softened Ding Jun's attitude. Seeing his wavering, I immediately said, Honey, since Jiaomin likes it so much, let's buy her one. 400,000 is just over a year's salary for you anyway. If Jiaomin likes anything else, let your brother buy it for her. He's got money now. Ding Jiaomin's face lit up with surprise. She hadn't expected me to speak up for her. Really? Brother, we've got our eye on a large apartment in the city center. It's even in the school district for the experimental primary school. It's only a little over 5 million. Will you buy it for us? A large apartment for only a little over 5 million. Human desires are indeed endless. It hasn't been long. And Ding Jiaomin already dares to dream. Honey, why don't we take some money from our investment account and help Jiaomin and her family buy the apartment? Ding Jun is such a scoundrel. If I immediately objected, it would definitely provoke his rebellious nature. Now that I'm going along with Ding Jiaomin's words, he'll definitely overthink it. Besides, over 5 million is no small sum. He's not dead yet. It's not time to make a will. Sure enough, Ding Jun refused outright. Ding Jiaomin's eyes widened. Are you even my own brother? Even my sister-in-law agreed. The siblings parted on bad terms. The money wouldn't flow out anytime soon. I was very happy. That night, the private investigator sent me a set of photos. They were photos of Ding Jun's ex-wife and a man wearing a mask and hat entering and leaving a hotel. The man was completely covered up, making it difficult to see his face. I can't explain why, but I always felt a strange sense of familiarity with him. Ding Jun was lying next to me snoring, so that could be ruled out. He's really generous. His ex-wife has found someone new. He's actually willing to leave so much money to them, mother and daughter. A few days later, Ding Jun was also going on a business trip. It was the same in my past life. When Ding Jun went on business trips, he left both children with me to take care of. Nyo was fine. After all, she's his own. Ding Man was different. I took care of her wholeheartedly and responsibly. She, however, accused me of being harsh, locking her in a dark room, and not feeding her, even when she accidentally fell. She claimed I pushed her. Being a stepmother is difficult enough, but she was so young, and the adults didn't even think she was lying. Ding Jun and I had a huge fight over this, and our relationship deteriorated further. I didn't want to suffer like this for the rest of my life, so I sent the child to my mother-in-law. She cursed and said I was narrow-minded, unable to tolerate even her granddaughter. I didn't argue, just smiled and replied, "You're right." My mother-in-law looked like she'd seen a ghost. I took Nyo to the treatment center and immediately spent 300,000 yuan on medical fees. I used Ding Jun's card. Less than 2 minutes later, Ding Jun called, questioning me. What did you buy? Why did you spend so much money? I told him it was for Nyo's next stage of treatment. Ding Jun didn't say anything. He hung up the phone directly. The private investigator sent me another photo of Ding Jun's ex-wife. The man next to her had changed. It was now my husband, Ding Jun. My doubts were resolved. That made sense. If there was no affair, how could Ding Jun have left so much money to his ex-wife? To put it more dramatically, maybe in his past life, when Ding Jun died, his ex-wife was pregnant. Would I be angry if he cheated? Of course. But what angered me more than Ding Jun's infidelity was that he left so much money to his ex-wife and daughter, but not a single penny to me and Nyo. Moreover, Ding Jun wasn't his ex-wife's only man. There was another one a couple of days ago. I saved the photo and uploaded it to my cloud drive. After a few days away on a business trip, Ding Jun returned. He was full of energy, like a withered old tree regaining its vitality. While he was sleeping, I checked his bank account again and found a large transfer of 300,000 yuan. The recipient's account name was Lin Chun. Lin Chun is Ding Jun's ex-wife. I transferred 300,000 yuan. He called back in a panic, questioning me. He's so generous transferring money to others. I silently operated his account, taking photos and videos, and uploading them to various cloud storage services. Now is not the time to confront him. 6. Perhaps feeling guilty, Ding Jun specially bought me a Van Cleef Arpels necklace that I'd been longing for so long. It cost over 30,000 yuan. 1/10 of what I gave my ex-wife. I urged the private investigator to keep a close eye on things and find Lin Chen's other man as soon as possible. Besides taking Nyo to her medical training, I took time to go to the beauty salon. I bought a month's worth of hair treatments. Clothes make the man. I was willing to spend money. I changed my usual simple and plain style and became exquisite and beautiful. Ding Jun's gaze shifted from calm to burning. As he became more animated, I tossed an ultrasound report in his face. Honey, I'm pregnant. It's a boy. Really? Ding Jun was overjoyed. He examined the ultrasound report repeatedly. I then tossed him a blood test report, which showed the fetus was male. I paid to have it checked. We'll know after the baby is born. Doctors can't be wrong. Can they? These are all fake documents I found online. I'm just too happy. Seeing his tearful expression of joy made me nauseous. Ding Jun isn't sexist. But he definitely prefers boys. His divorce from Lin Chen was also because of the child. Lin Chen didn't want a second child, while Ding Jun and his mother wanted a boy. They argued constantly. Even the best relationship would crumble. He divorced me. His second son. I found out too late. I was almost due. After Nyo was born. Although Ding Jun was disappointed, his attitude towards her was still okay. Anyway, I was young and healthy. I can still have a second child. After my postpartum period, my in-laws, mother and son, urged me to have another one. I refused without hesitation. The child was still young, and my mother-in-law wouldn't help me. How could I possibly have another child? When Nyo was 2, we noticed something was wrong. After she was diagnosed with autism, it became even less likely that I would have another child. Now that I'm pregnant and it's a boy, he's incredibly happy. Ding Jun wanted to call his parents to report the good news. I stopped him. Wait until the pregnancy is stable. Don't worry your parents. Ding Jun obediently put down his phone, leaned in, and kissed me hard. I smiled in response. He was very attentive and much nicer to me than before. After resting for a few days, I gathered my emotions and threw a stack of developed photos at him. He was embracing Lin Chenqing, being affectionate. Photos of him entering and leaving the hotel were scattered all over the floor. Ding Jun was shocked and panicked. His face was a mess of colors. I covered my face. The tear gas in my hands made my tears fall in large drops. Is this how you treat me? Ding Jun. You've disappointed me so much. Wife. I hate you. I interrupted him, turned, and pulled the door shut. Ding Jun chased after me and hugged my wife. Don't go. Believe me. I haven't done anything wrong. He pointed to the ground. His face contorted with misery. Then how do you explain these photos? A look of panic crossed Ding Jun's face. The photos are all fake. It must be someone jealous of our relationship. They're using these photos to sow discord. Believe me. Was the 300,000 you transferred to Lin Chen also fake? I couldn't help but shout. Ding Jun's pupils contracted. He stammered. How can you confuse physical infidelity with emotional infidelity? Physical infidelity isn't infidelity. As long as my whole heart belongs to you, what does it matter who I sleep with? My God. This bastard has such a big face. How can he say such nonsense? I felt like I was possessed by a ghost. I didn't know where to put my hands. I was afraid I would slap him across the face. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. You've gone too far. Since you still care about Lin Chen, why did you divorce him to provoke me? How are I? Nyo. And our son supposed to live like this? I cried uncontrollably. Even though I had specially applied waterproof makeup, large tears streamed down my face, completely ruining my carefully prepared look. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the window pane. I looked so pitiful, so endearing. All that skincare hadn't been for nothing, the money was well spent. Seeing me so heartbroken, Ding Jun felt both smug and distressed. He patiently hugged me and comforted me, even swearing to the heavens that he had broken up with Lin Chen, would never lie to me again, and would live a good life with me. I looked at him through teary eyes. People say that a man's heart is where his money is. Ding Jun immediately understood. I wanted to control the money. He immediately took out his phone and transferred all the money in his account to me, keeping only a few tens of thousands of yuan for himself. I have no money left, he said. Now you should believe me. Right. I reached out and stroked my flat stomach. Make a will. If you die, all your inheritance will go to us. My daughter and me. Wife. Is that really necessary? I gently brushed my bangs aside. The tear gas had made my eyes red again. Don't cry. It's not good for our son. You're disloyal. You're not going to die. I can't even let you make a will. I'll never trust you again. Ding Jun surrendered, raising his hands. I'll make one now. I snorted coldly and pulled out an insurance policy. Throwing it in front of him, Ding Jun opened it with suspicion. It was a large insurance policy I had taken out for our family of 3. Ding Jun was listed as the beneficiary. Flipping to the policy date. It was around the time he had just won the lottery. I trusted him so much that I even listed his name as the beneficiary. This time he was truly moved. He immediately contacted a lawyer to write a will. Strike while the iron is hot. The lawyer came and helped write the will. After Ding Jun's death, all his inheritance will go to me and Nyo. I didn't forgive him immediately, but my attitude towards him softened considerably. I wanted him to have it notarized. Ding Jun was concerned about the baby in my womb. He was worried that my depression would affect the baby's development. So he had no choice but to have my will notarized. At this point, Ding Jun had 15 days left before his death, and the notarized will could be obtained within 15 days at the latest. After the matter was settled, official news came. The rumors were confirmed. The government service hall and many other institutions were going to relocate to the Haitang Lake area. A rise in surrounding property prices was a certainty. Ding Jun was overjoyed, hugging me and praising me incessantly. I was also in a good mood. The will was done, and property prices were going to rise again. Now I just had to wait for Ding Jun to die. However, before Ding Jun died, there was still one thing left to settle. Ding Jiamin's sister-in-law was taking out a loan for a business and asked Ding Jiamin and her husband to be guarantors. She was afraid of taking responsibility and also afraid that disagreeing would displease her sister-in-law. So she pushed her own brother, Ding Jun, to be the guarantor. The more than 1 million yuan debt from her previous life was incurred by Ding Jiamin's sister-in-law running away with the money. It had only been a few days since the loan was made. Ding Jiamin's sister-in-law absconded with the money and went abroad. As for doing business, there's no trace of it. He borrowed money from loan sharks, with shockingly high interest rates compounding. Even selling my small house wouldn't be enough to pay it all back. Besides, I don't have a job, and I have Nyo to raise. If it weren't for that guarantee incident, I probably wouldn't have been so emotionally distraught that I died of anger. I could have gathered evidence to sue my in-laws, sister-in-law, and Lin Chen, and at least I could have recovered most of the property. My life wouldn't have been so bad. I had no idea that Ding Jun acted as a guarantor in my past life. In this life, with a child and an insurance policy, plus the fact that I exposed his affair with Lin Chen, he felt guilty. When Ding Jiamin discussed the guarantee with him, he proactively told me. Of course, I didn't want to be like in my past life, inexplicably burdened with debt because of someone else. Ding Jun is about to die. If he dies, those debt collectors will definitely come after me. I advised her husband. That's loan sharking. It's best we don't touch it. Originally, Jiamin's sister-in-law planned to borrow money from me. Even though the money had already been spent, Jiamin only then asked me to be her guarantor. I'd already refused her once, refusing a second time wouldn't be good. I tugged at her arm and pleaded. We're not that close. Since she's Jiamin's sister-in-law, let them be the guarantors themselves. There's always a chance of something going wrong. We have money and a son now. I don't want anything to happen to you. I'd rather something happen to him right now. My pleading had some effect. Ding Jun's attitude softened somewhat. I added fuel to the fire. Jiamin asked you to buy a large apartment before, and you didn't agree. You were even angry with her. Now she's asking you to be a guarantor. And it's a loan shark. I'm scared too. Besides, since he said nothing would happen, why don't they be the guarantors themselves? Why ask you? She's his sister-in-law. Their family. A flicker of hesitation crossed Ding Jun's face. He was considering my words, and a seed of doubt was being planted in his mind. Ding Jiamin was trying her best to persuade Ding Jun that Yu Jiao wouldn't be the guarantor. Sure enough, 2 days later, Ding Jiamin called me. The moment I answered, she started cursing. Did you say something to my brother? Are you fucking crazy? What business is it of yours? You good for nothing. Whoever marries you will be cursed for 8 lifetimes. I put the phone on speakerphone and held it away. After Ding Jiamin finished cursing, I calmly replied. How could that be? Ding Jun winning the lottery by marrying me is too good for you. You wouldn't even have my kind of luck. I hung up the phone happily. It seems my words had some effect. Ding Jun refused the offer. Later, I subtly learned from my mother-in-law that Ding Jiaming's husband had ultimately acted as guarantor. That's a good thing. I imagine they'll be in big trouble once his sister-in-law runs away. I was happy to watch the show. Little did I know that the private investigator who was watching Lin Chen was. But I received some incredibly shocking news. I had paid extra to urge the private investigator to find Lin Chen's other man as soon as possible. Money talks. The investigator worked overtime and finally sent me a very clear photo. I opened the high definition and censored photo. Like an old man on the subway looking at his phone. Good heavens! The man in the photo was actually my father-in-law. My respectable and well-maintained father-in-law. I never imagined that my always presentable father-in-law would be so promiscuous in private, not even sparing his former daughter-in-law. My God. My eyes. My worldview. I was deeply shocked. What was Lin Chen thinking? Was he mentally unstable? I was both shocked and confused, but I felt much better. I saved the picture and paid the private investigator. I didn't need to follow him anymore. Ding Jun came home that evening. He looked tired. I talked to him with concern. He hesitated to speak. I tentatively asked, was it Jia Min or Lin Chen? Ding Jun took a deep breath. He laid his cards on the table, saying, wife. Lin Chen is pregnant. She's mine. I held back a scream. Young man. How naive. Ha ha ha. Whether she's yours or not is uncertain. I didn't want to cause any trouble at this time. To prevent any accidents. I didn't shove the photo in his face. So this is why Ding Jun transferred most of his assets to Lin Chen in his past life. His mother also thought Lin Chen was pregnant with Ding Jun's child. Which is why she didn't stop him. I finished my performance. Putting myself entirely in his shoes. What could I do? Since she's yours. Let her give birth. We'll give her some money and raise her with our son. If it's a daughter, it'll be like I gave birth to twins. If it's a son, then they'll be twin brothers. Ding Jun was both shocked and delighted. Wife. Marrying you is the greatest blessing I've accumulated in 8 lifetimes. I chuckled silently. Don't be so hasty. You scoundrel. Your good fortune is yet to come. I counted the days on my fingers. 3 more days. Ding Jun was going to die. The high-interest loan guarantee issue. Because Ding Jun went back on his word and caused trouble. The delay in processing hasn't caused any problems yet. Ding Jiamin hasn't bothered me. She's just been pestering Ding Jun for money to buy a car. I'm living a pretty comfortable life. As for my parents' death anniversary, I'll visit them later. They won't blame me. Right. These past few days, I've deliberately cancelled everything and stayed home to wait. The day the notarized document came out, I went to pick it up immediately. When I got home, I received a call from Ding Jun saying he was in the emergency room after a car accident. I dropped Nyo off at the rehabilitation center on the way before driving to the hospital. I brought tear gas. When I found the emergency room, I couldn't shed a single tear. My in-laws and Ding Jiamin were already there. Not long after I arrived, Lin Chen arrived with Ding Man. My mother-in-law was so anxious she almost fainted. Ding Jiamin looked at the red light above the emergency room and vented her anger on me. Are you a snail? You're so slow. How did you take care of my brother? How could he have gotten into a car accident? Please. Sister. You're blaming me for a car accident. It's not like I told someone to hit him. You jinx. Ding Jiamin got angrier and angrier. She raised her hand to slap me across the face. I grabbed her wrist and slapped her back. You still have the nerve to blame me. If it weren't for the guarantee and the car and house issues, and you harassing Ding Jun every day, how could he have been so upset and unable to sleep, leading to the car accident? Ding Jiamin was stunned by my slap. She covered her face in disbelief. You actually dared to hit me. I don't believe it. Slap. I slapped her again. Now you should believe me. Right. Ding Jiaming's eyes were blazing with anger. He reached out to scratch me. My father-in-law coldly scolded. Get out of here and cause trouble. I shook my hand indifferently and leisurely sat down to wait. Ding Jiaming covered his burning face. Indignant but not daring to cause any more trouble. After what seemed like a long time, the emergency room light went out. The doctor came out. Go inside and say what you want to say. Say what I want to hear. I couldn't care less about anyone else. I quickly covered my eyes. My mother-in-law rushed onto the bed and hugged Ding Juanhao. Ding Juanhao seemed to be having a final burst of energy. He could still say some things intermittently. He pointed in my direction towards the child. My mother-in-law quickly pulled Lin Chun out from behind me. Son, don't worry. Your mother and Chun Chun will definitely take good care of the child for you. Lin Chun's eyes were filled with tears. Juanhao, don't worry. I will definitely give birth to the child and raise him well. Ding Jiamin was afraid that Ding Juanhao would die without saying anything. She hurriedly asked, Brother, where are your property certificate and money? Tell mom and dad quickly. Don't let Qing, that outsider, benefit from it. Yes. Chun Chun took care of Bai Chao, who is a son. Tell mom where your money and house are. I'll save all your money for you from now on. I'll give it to my grandson when he grows up. My father-in-law also chimed in. Chun Chun gave you a son and a daughter. Logically speaking, we shouldn't mistreat her. Brother, don't be soft-hearted now. The money belongs to our family. We can't let outsiders and fools benefit from it. Ding Jun opened his mouth. But for some reason, he couldn't utter a single word. I rolled my eyes and pulled them apart. Outsiders and fools refers to me and Nyo. Right. As for Lin Chun's son, let's not even talk about it since he hasn't been born yet. Even if he were, who knows if he's Ding Jun's. I leaned close to Ding Jun, my eyes brimming with tears. Husband, does it hurt? Don't go. Okay. I can't bear to leave you. Ding Jun trembled as he tried to move his hand to my face. Wife. I'm sorry. I shook my head. My eyes red. I opened my phone's photo album and found the photos of my father-in-law, Lin Chuanhe, that I had saved before. I held them up to Ding Jun's face. Look. Isn't this your child beautiful? Ding Jun's pupils contracted. Suddenly, he gasped for breath. The monitor by the bedside beeped urgently and loudly. I leaned close to his ear, tears streaming down my face, and said in a barely audible voice, I knew they were having an affair all along. How unpleasant it must be to be cheated on by your own father. I was just as angry when you cheated on me. Oh. You have no idea how long they've been doing this. Is Man your child or her father's child? You've finally gotten your comeuppance. What goes around comes around. Retribution is inevitable. Thinking back to my past life, I was handling Ding Jun's funeral while dealing with violent debt collectors. The Ding family didn't offer any help. And then they blamed me for Ding Jun's death. They accused me of neglecting Ding Jun at home because of my parents' deaths, saying it was my fault for not taking good care of him and causing his car accident. It was all my fault. I was a housewife who had been out of the workforce for years, raising a sick 3-year-old. The exhaustion and helplessness made me want to end it all. I deliberately didn't want him to die peacefully. You scumbag. You died with your eyes wide open. Ding Jun, his eyes red and convulsing, stared at my husband. What's wrong? Don't scare me. I cried out in panic, calling for a doctor. Then, filled with grief and indignation, I leaned close to his ear and continued. I'm not pregnant. The pregnancy test results are fake. The large insurance policy is fake too. It's all just to fool you. Ding Jun trembled all over. His eyes widened suddenly. His hand fell limply. His eyes didn't even close. It was so satisfying to see him like that. I felt extremely relieved. I screamed, Husband, don't go. Don't leave me and Nyo. I was pulled violently by Ding Jiamin and fell to the ground. Brother. You can't. You haven't told me where the money and certificates are. The doctor who came in looked at Ding Jiamin with incredulous eyes. A kind nurse helped me up. I coldly watched the doctor cover Ding Jun with a white sheet. At this moment, my tears finally flowed. In this life, Nyo and I could finally have a peaceful life. 11. I don't know how I got home. The first thing I did when I got home was to find everything in the house, the property certificate, the car certificate, and the bank cards. I packed up and hid all the valuables. I hired 4 bodyguards, 2 men and 2 women, at a high price to follow me around. I opened WeChat and contacted several real estate agents I had added before, asking them to list all the properties under my and Ding Jun's names on the market at slightly lower prices than the market value. In the past 2 weeks, property prices have increased significantly. So a slightly lower price doesn't matter, I've already made a profit anyway. Before Ding Jun's cremation and burial, the Ding family didn't cause any major trouble. However, the matter of Ding Jiamin and her husband acting as guarantors for her sister-in-law went wrong. The other party learned that Ding Jiamin's sister-in-law had fled abroad and started demanding money from the couple. Ding Jiamin and her husband repeatedly came to my house to provoke me, demanding money for their inheritance. They were all dragged away by the bodyguards. After Ding Jun's burial, My in-laws put the matter of the estate on the table and even hired a lawyer to talk to me. If it weren't for that photo and me, Ding Jun might not have died so quickly. And the inheritance could probably have been settled. But it's useless. I have a will. He left not a single word about the inheritance. My in-laws didn't want me to inherit millions. 4 bodyguards stood behind me. I held Nyonyo's hand and waited for them with my lawyer. My in-laws immediately demanded money. I threw at them copies of Ding Junli's will and notarized documents. Look carefully. The money and the house are all mine. You can't possibly get a single penny. My in-laws and Ding Jiamin didn't believe me, shouting that the will was fake. We are his biological parents. How could he not leave us a single penny? You're forging documents to try and pocket the inheritance. Ding Jiamin spat at me fiercely. You're a worthless woman who doesn't even have a proper job. You're completely dependent on my brother. Why should you take my brother's money? It's all fake. You want to inherit my brother's estate all by yourself. I laughed heartily. Whether it's true or false, a simple investigation will tell. This is all our joint property. It's not your turn to inherit. I gestured for their lawyer to examine it himself. The lawyer opposite me picked up the will and notarized documents. His brow could have killed a fly. After a long while, he finally uttered 3 words, "It's true." My mother-in-law burst into tears, throwing a tantrum and trying to scratch my face. My bodyguard isn't one to be trifled with. He grabbed her and pulled her aside. Lin Chun stepped forward. Shi Qing. You're pocketing the inheritance. You're not even leaving your parents' share. Aren't you afraid people will gossip about you behind your back? I scoffed. So you want a piece of the pie too? Lin Chun looked somewhat embarrassed. The allure of wealth was undeniable. He took Ding Manman's hand, subtly showing his not-so-protruding belly. Manman and her siblings were Ajun's biological children. Ajun's half of the inheritance would undoubtedly belong to them. Are you sure? I asked, staring into her eyes. A flicker of panic crossed Lin Chun's eyes, but he quickly replied firmly. It's the truth. I pulled a stack of photos of him and my father-in-law from my bag and threw them in front of him. I gestured for the bodyguard to put my mother-in-law down and then warmly greeted him. Mom. Come and see too. Good things should be shared. I led Nyonyo out the door. Inside, chaos reigned. Curses, wails, and the sounds of fighting mingled with Lin Chun's scream. She must have started bleeding. I no longer cared about the Ding family's affairs. Ding Jiamin lunged at me, trying to stop me, but the bodyguard stopped her. I squeezed Nyonyo's warm hand and left without looking back. With a will and notarized documents, the inheritance process went smoothly. I also withdrew the remaining tens of thousands of yuan from Ding Jun's card. Ding Jun was in a car accident on his way to and from get off work. The insurance company and his company paid out a sum of money, which they wanted to deposit into my account. I refused and had them transfer it to his parents instead. Even with the compensation money from Ding Jun, given his father's infidelity and Ding Jiamin's situation, their lives might not be easy. As for Ding Manman, I had a DNA test done with samples from both Ding Jun and himself. She is indeed Ding Jun's child. The Manman he mentioned is my husband's daughter with his ex-wife. I don't plan to take back the 300,000 yuan that Ding Jun gave to Lin Chun. Lin Chun had a miscarriage and can't have more children, so she will likely be raised well. These are not my concerns. After finishing all this, I took Nyonyo and left this place for a second-tier city where nobody knew us. The weather, medical care, and environment here are all good for Nyonyo. The properties and shops I listed were sold off one after another. I also disposed of the car. I withdrew all the money from my investment account. Exactly 101.32 million. I spent some money to buy a 2-bedroom apartment in the city center. Nyonyo and I settled there temporarily. We deposited the money in several banks to earn interest. I started taking Nyonyo for rehabilitation intervention. I took her to many hospitals and rehabilitation centers, making many trips. But since we had money, we didn't suffer too much. Nyonyo started early, and the rehabilitation treatment was very effective. On her 5th birthday, she finally called me mom. The doctor said Nyonyo's condition was very good and she was very likely to recover to the point where she could go to school. I cried tears of joy. I turned to look out the window. Green willows were sprouting, and the air was filled with the fragrance of flowers. Spring, full of vitality, had arrived. Nyonyo sat quietly on the thick carpet, playing with building blocks. Noticing my gaze, she looked up at me with a sweet smile. Story 2, in the previous life. The whole family went to the river to watch the dragon boats during the Dragon Boat Festival. My mother-in-law insisted on climbing over the railing to take pictures on the dangerous mudflats. I was worried about the rising water level and desperately tried to dissuade her. But my whole family scolded me for being a spoilsport. Later, the river suddenly rose. I was swept away by the rapids while trying to save them. My body was never recovered. They used my compensation money to buy a house and retire. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the scene where my mother-in-law was climbing over the railing. I silently took a step back and dialed the rescue number with a smile. This time, my whole family reaped what they sowed. When I opened my eyes, my mother-in-law, Jo Mylan, had already stepped over the river railing with one foot. The sound of dragon boat drums shook the river. The riverbank was crowded with people. Colorful flags fluttered in the wind. She was wearing a bright red silk top, with a phone strap around her neck. She was climbing over the railing while shouting back, "Chingin, quickly take a picture of Mom. Stand closer to get a better shot." I stood in the crowd, feeling cold all over. The suffocating feeling of the river water rushing into my mouth and nose felt like a knife cutting through my chest. In that instant, I saw myself being swept away by the rapids. My fingers grabbed at the water a few times, but I couldn't grab anything. I also saw a month later, the Liu family set off firecrackers in their new house. Jo Mylan, the mother-in-law, wearing a brand new cheongsam, said to relatives, "Why not take that money? It's free money." She went into the water herself, trying to be brave. Who can she blame? Her husband, Liu Qing'an, held a wine glass, his tone indifferent. "Life goes on even if someone dies. I'm dead. They'll take my compensation, the insurance company's pension, buy a house, and retire." I returned to the day of the Dragon Boat Festival. Back to before Jo Mylan climbed over the railing. "Shen Qinghe, you're just standing there grinding stones." Liu Qing'an frowned at me. "My mother's already gone. Help her up." I didn't move. I glanced at my phone. It was 3:29 p.m. 11 minutes left. The upstream water level would suddenly rise. The mudflats would be swallowed by the river within minutes. In my past life, I desperately tried to pull him back, begging him to come back. He scolded me for being a spoilsport. Liu Qing'an scolded me for making a fuss. My sister-in-law, Lu Wanqing, rolled her eyes. "Sister-in-law, are you jealous of how good my mother looks in photos?" Later, the river rose. They pushed me forward this time. I only did one thing. I turned on my phone to record. Then I took a step back. Jo Mylan had already climbed over and was standing on the slippery mudflat, holding her phone up and shouting at the dragon boat. This is what Dragon Boat Festival is all about. What's the point of those of you standing inside the railing taking pictures? I raised my hand and took a picture of the warning sign next to me. The red background and white lettering were very clear. Water level changes frequently. Climbing over the railing is strictly prohibited. Entering the mudflat is strictly prohibited. Lu Wanqing saw my action and mocked. "Sister-in-law, why are you taking pictures of the warning sign? To post it on WeChat Moments to complain." I ignored her. I took another picture of Jo Mylan standing outside the railing. The river water was less than 2 meters away from her feet. Liu Qing'an walked over and grabbed my wrist. "Shen Qinghe, what are you trying to do now?" I pulled my hand back and said calmly, "I'm keeping evidence." His face darkened. "What evidence?" "My mom is just taking a picture. Don't be so mysterious all the time." Jo Mylan heard this and turned around to scold me from outside. "You spoil sport. We're out having fun for the Dragon Boat Festival. And you have to put on that deadpan face. No wonder our Liu family has had bad luck these past 2 years." Several tourists around looked over. I pointed my phone at her and said clearly, "Ms. Jo Mylan, there are clear warning signs here. Do not climb over the guardrail. Do not enter the mudflats. I have already warned you. Please return to the safe area immediately." Jo Mylan was stunned for a moment, then sneered, "Who are you trying to scare? I'm your mother-in-law. You dare to record me?" Liu Qing'an reached out to grab my phone. I dodged to the side and dialed 110 directly. His face changed. The moment the call connected, I clearly stated the location. "Hello. Outside guardrail number 3 at the Nanjiang Dragon Boat Race Scenic Area." Someone ignored the warnings and climbed over the guardrail into the dangerous mudflats. I have repeatedly tried to dissuade them to no avail. The area is crowded. The water level is at risk of rising. Please coordinate with the scenic area management and rescue personnel to handle this as soon as possible. Lu Wanqing screamed. Are you sick? My mother's humor is illegal. I didn't hang up and continued. The person climbing over was a woman around 60 years old. She wore a red top and black pants. She was now very close to the river. Her family members were agitated. There were attempts to snatch her phone. Lu Qing'an's hand froze in midair. The surrounding tourists began to murmur. You really can't go down there. The announcements this morning said it several times. This old lady is really bold. Taking a picture like this. She's risking her life. Zhou Milan finally lost her temper. Pointing at me. She cursed Shen Qinghe. You just can't stand to see me happy. You called the police to arrest your mother-in-law. Have you no shame? I looked at the increasingly murky river behind her. My fingers steadily pressing the recording interface. I called the police to save someone. Lu Qing'an lowered his voice. Gritting his teeth. Hang up quickly. Apologize to my mother. I looked at him. A vision of his past. He always ordered me in the same low voice. Every single time. His mother was unhappy. So I apologized. His sister owed money. So I was in danger. His father was hospitalized. So I took leave. If anything happened to their family, I stepped in. This time, I only replied with 4 words, you were in the picture too. Lu Qing'an's expression instantly froze. Suddenly, the park's loudspeaker blared in the distance. Attention! Tourists! Due to changing water levels, please do not approach the riverbank railings. Climbing over the railings into the mudflats is strictly prohibited. Zhou Milan stood outside the railing, still about to curse me. Suddenly, the mud beneath her feet sank. She looked down, her face turning pale. The river level was rising rapidly, faster than I remembered. The sounds of dragon boat drums, tourists cheering, and the loudspeaker mingled together. My sister-in-law, Lu Wanqing, finally panicked. Mom, come back quickly. Zhou Milan turned to walk back, but slipped and fell into the mud. She screamed, Qing'an, save me. Lu Qing'an's face changed drastically. He rushed to the railing. Mom. He looked back at me. His eyes red. Shen Qinghe. You can swim. Go down and pull my mom back. I stood still. The water was already above Zhou Milan's ankles. It was those words that pushed me into the river in my past life, I said to Lu Qing'an. Each word distinct. I'm not a professional rescuer. Going down now will only result in another death. He rushed over and grabbed me. That's my mother. I raised my phone. The recording red dot was still lit. So you should wait for rescue. Instead of letting your wife go to her death. People around shouted. The rescue team is here. Several people in rescue suits pushed through the crowd and ran over, followed by scenic area staff. The guard walked briskly to the railing. His voice was deep. Who called the police? I raised my hand. He glanced at me, then looked over the railing. The trapped person's condition. I answered immediately. Around 60 years old. Climbed over the railing 5 minutes ago. I tried to stop her but to no avail. She's conscious now. Her feet are stuck in the mud. The water level is rising. She's about 4 meters from the shore. The surrounding mud is slippery. The man's eyes flickered slightly. You're a professional. Insurance claims risk control. He nodded and turned to arrange for people to set up rescue ropes. Lu Qing'an was still shouting. Hurry up. You guys go down. The man gave him a cold look and shut up. Non-professionals shouldn't interfere with the rescue. Lu Qing'an choked. I stood inside the railing, watching Zhou Milan cry out in the water. She saw me. Her voice was shrill. Shen Qinghe. You heartless bastard. You just stood there watching me die. I calmly pressed the record button. I was assisting with the rescue. Her cries were cut off. The rescue rope was thrown out. 2 rescuers secured the safety buckles and approached using a special platform. A few minutes later, Zhou Milan was pulled ashore. She was covered in mud. Her legs were cut. And her hair was plastered to her face. She looked like she had been pulled out of a mud pit. Once ashore, she didn't thank the rescuers. She raised her hand to hit me. You vicious woman. I took a step back. Her slap missed. The rescue team leader stepped in between. Frowning. Madam, you violated regulations by entering a dangerous area. It was this lady who called the police immediately. Without her, you would still be in the water. Zhou Milan sat on the ground crying. She's my daughter-in-law. She should have gone down to save me. How could she call the police? She just wanted to embarrass me. I looked at her. I looked at Lu Qing'an again. Lu Qing'an's face was ashen. He wanted to say something, but I interrupted him. The police and scenic area staff were all there. I had the complete recording. Photos, police reports, and location data. Anyone who wanted to accuse me could say so now. The surroundings suddenly fell silent. Lu Wanqing opened her mouth, but dared not utter a sound. I turned off the recording and put my phone back in my bag. The heavy feeling in my chest that had been pressing down for so long finally dissipated a little. In my previous life, I rushed into the river and lived my life trampled over corpses. In this life, I took a step back and let them stand among the evidence themselves. The ambulance arrived quickly. Zhou Milan was still cursing as she was being lifted onto the stretcher. My legs hurt. If I'm crippled, it's all Shenqing's fault. Lu Qing'an squatted down beside her to comfort her. Mom, don't get agitated. I'll definitely get you an explanation. I stood by the ambulance and laughed when I heard this. Lu Qing'an looked up at me. What are you laughing at? I handed my phone to the scenic area staff next to me. Please leave your contact information. I just filmed Ms. Zhou climbing over the railing. I also recorded my repeated attempts to stop her. If you need to determine responsibility later, please contact me. The staff member immediately nodded in agreement. Ms. Shen, it's truly fortunate that you called the police in time. Lu Qing'an's face darkened further. Shen Qinghe, my mother is in this state. And you're still busy collecting evidence. What else could he be doing? Busy getting blamed by you. He grabbed my wrist. His voice low. You've gone too far today. I looked down at his hand and released it. If he hadn't let go, my mother would have almost died. You stood there coldly the whole time. Don't think you can wash your hands of it just because you have a recording. You're his daughter-in-law. You have an obligation to save him. The rescue team leader happened to walk over and stopped when he heard this. He looked at Lu Qing'an. Sir, what you said is inappropriate. Lu Qing'an frowned. The rescue team leader's voice was harsh. At that time, the water level was high, and the mudflats were slippery. If non-professionals went down, it could very likely cause secondary injuries. The woman called the police immediately, provided her location, and described the situation of the trapped person. This is standard effective assistance. Asking her to go into the water is irresponsible. Several tourists around looked over again. Lu Qing'an slowly loosened his grip. I pulled my hand back and rubbed my wrist. The rescue team leader turned to me. You just said you work in insurance claims risk control. No wonder you reacted quickly. He handed me a business card. Captain of Qingyi Nanching Blue Shield Rescue Team. If anyone uses today's incident to make a fuss, you can have your lawyer contact me. I can provide a statement of the rescue situation. I took the business card and thanked him. Lu Wanqing said sarcastically from the side. Sister-in-law is really something. Mom is still in the ambulance. And you're already looking for witnesses. I looked at the phone in her hand. She was filming me. I walked over and stared at the camera. Record it clearly. Remember to include your mom climbing over the railing and me calling the police. Include everything the rescue team deemed my actions correct. If you omit a part, I'll sue you for spreading rumors. Lu Wanqing's hand trembled. She almost dropped her phone. Who are you trying to scare? I smiled. You can try. He shut up. The ambulance door closed. Before getting in, Lu Qing'an looked back at me. You're not going to the hospital. I'm going. I need the medical records. And I need to see how you're going to fabricate this. His face was ashen. At the hospital, Zhou Milan was wheeled away for cleaning and examination. When my father-in-law, Lu Jianming, arrived, he immediately looked at me with a grim face. What happened? How did your mother get injured like this? Before I could even speak, Lu Wanqing was already crying. Dad. It's all because of my sister-in-law. She was standing there watching when Mom fell. Lu Jianming immediately glared at me. How could you do this? That's your mother-in-law. I took out my phone from my bag and started recording. Zhou Milan's voice came through clearly. You spoil sport. We're out having fun on Dragon Boat Festival. And you have to put on a deadpan face. Then came my voice. Ms. Zhou Milan. There are clear warning signs here. Do not climb over the guardrail. Do not enter the mudflats. I have already warned you. Please return to the safe area immediately. Then it was Lu Qing'an. Shen Qinghe. What are you up to now? Sister-in-law Lu Wanqing. Are you jealous that my mom looks good in photos? The corridor was silent. Lu Jianming's face turned from pale to ashen. I turned off the recording. Dad. Do you want to hear what comes next? There was Lu Qing'an demanding that I go into the water to save people. There was also the rescue team leader saying that non-professionals going into the water would cause secondary injuries. Lu Jianming's lips moved. Lu Qing'an said in a deep voice. Shen Qinghe. Why does our family have to make such a fuss? I looked at him. From the moment you started lying, we were no longer a family. His eyes were blazing. When Zhou Milan was wheeled out, her leg was wrapped in gauze. Her face was pale. She cried again when she saw me. Jianming, look at your daughter-in-law. I'm lying inside in excruciating pain. And she's still playing recordings outside to scare people. Lu Jianming quickly went over to comfort her. Lu Qing'an also went over. I stood aside listening to the doctor's report. Right calf laceration. Risk of local infection. No fracture for now. He needs to be hospitalized for 2 days for observation. No fractures. No disability. In my past life, after he was rescued, it was the same. The only one who truly died was me. Zhou Milan perked up immediately upon hearing that amputation wasn't necessary. She pointed at me. He'll pay for the hospitalization. And also for nutrition and compensation for emotional distress. I almost lost my life there. He can't expect to get away with it. I looked at the doctor. Doctor, please write down the actual situation clearly in the medical record. The injured person illegally climbed over the guardrail in the scenic area and was injured after entering the mudflat. There are police reports and rescue records at the scene of the accident. The doctor paused for a moment and nodded. The medical record only records the medical conditions. You can have the relevant departments determine the cause of the accident. Okay. Zhou Milan immediately shouted. What do you mean? You're trying to shirk responsibility. I looked down and opened my phone's memo app. I wrote down the details of the Dragon Boat Festival accident, the hospital time, the preliminary diagnosis, and the Liu family's first request for medical expenses and compensation for emotional distress. When Lu Qing'an saw this, he reached out to grab it again. I looked up at him. If you touch my phone again, I'll call the police right now. He stopped abruptly. The nurse wheeled Zhou Milan into the ward. I didn't follow. Instead, I sat on a bench in the corridor and texted Song Mingyan. She called back quickly. Your in-laws are causing trouble again. I said it was more serious than trouble. The Dragon Boat Festival incident. I have complete evidence. They're preparing to turn the tables on me. Song Mingyan was silent for 2 seconds. Her voice turned cold. Record the audio. Photos. Police report. Witness statements. Back up everything to me. And don't argue in the family group chat. Don't say a word more than necessary. Let them say as much as they want. I glanced towards the ward. Zhou Milan was crying and calling relatives. I was almost swept away by the river. My daughter-in-law was standing on the shore watching. I hung up and started backing up. In my past life, after I died, I couldn't refute anything they said. In this life, every lie they told will become evidence. At 8 p.m., Lu Qing'an came out of the ward. He looked tired. His tone softened a little. Qinghe's mother is in a bad mood right now. Don't hold it against him. Go apologize to him. This will be over. I looked up at him. He illegally climbed over the railing. I called the police to save him. Now you want me to apologize. He frowned. And you insist on making a fuss. He's an elderly person. What's wrong with giving in a little? I've heard this too many times. Giving in a little can end up costing you your life. I stood up. Lu Qing'an put his phone in his bag. I won't apologize. Medical expenses will be handled according to the liability determination. As for us, I paused. He looked at me. A hint of unease in his eyes. I said I'd talk about divorce at home. Lu Qing'an thought I was just saying it in anger. On the way home, he drove with a sullen face. I sat in the passenger seat, opened my phone, and systematically saved all the data to the cloud: photos, recordings, police reports, hospital records, and screenshots from the relatives group chat. Yes, the relatives group chat had exploded. Zhou Milan's sister was the first to jump out and say, "You're too heartless. You didn't even save your mother-in-law when she fell into the water." Lu Wanqing posted a photo of Zhou Milan's leg wrapped in gauze, with the caption, "Some people may pretend well, but their hearts are revealed in crucial moments." A bunch of relatives chimed in with insults. This kind of daughter-in-law is unacceptable. Lu Qing'an married the wrong person. If my daughter-in-law were like that, I would have kicked her out long ago. I didn't reply to any of them. I only took screenshots and saved them. Lu Qing'an noticed my actions. I couldn't help but say, "Relatives are just concerned about mom. Don't be so sensitive." I didn't look up. Yeah. I'll keep their concern in mind. He tightened his grip on the steering wheel. It was already 10 p.m. when I got home. This apartment was my premarital home. The down payment was the money my parents left me before they passed away. I paid the mortgage myself. Lu Qing'an moved in after the marriage. But the Lu family always called it our Qing'an's home. The first thing I did after entering the house was to open the safe in the master bedroom and take out the property certificate, insurance contract, bank statements, and marriage certificate. Lu Qing'an stood at the door. What are you doing? I put the documents into my bag and organized my personal belongings. Shen Qinghe. Stop making trouble. I looked up at him. I said divorce isn't a joke. He finally panicked for a moment. But quickly he sneered. Just because of what happened today. My mother almost had an accident. Instead of reflecting on yourself, you want a divorce. I took out the marriage certificate. Your mother didn't almost have an accident. She violated regulations and had an accident. You don't care about her. You want to find someone to take responsibility. His face darkened. Don't be so rude. I put the documents away. The nasty stuff was yet to come. My phone rang. It was a message from Lu Wanqing. Your sister-in-law and mother want you to bring soup to the hospital tomorrow morning. Remember to buy black-bone chicken. Also, the doctor said mom needs protein supplements. You can buy some imported protein powder while you're at it. I laughed and replied directly. Whoever asks, buys. Whoever breaks the rules, takes responsibility. The other side immediately exploded. Are they even human? Mom's in the hospital. I took a screenshot and didn't reply. The next morning, Lu Qing'an knocked on the guest room door at 7 a.m. I slept in the guest room last night. The door locked from the inside. Qinghe got up and went to the hospital with me. I came out after washing up, wearing a black suit. He paused for a moment. Are you really going to the hospital dressed like that? I said. Let's go to the law firm first. His face changed. Are you serious? I didn't answer. I grabbed my bag and went out. He chased after me. He blocked the elevator. Shen Qinghe. Go to the hospital now and apologize to my mother. I can pretend you never said those things yesterday. I pressed the elevator button. I don't need you to pretend you never said them. I want you to remember clearly. The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside. He stood outside, gritting his teeth, and said, "You'll regret this." I pressed the close button. "I'll return that sentence to you." In the law firm, Song Mingyan finished reviewing the documents. Her eyes shone with an eerie light. She pushed up her glasses and said, "Your chain of evidence is impressive. I'll take a sip of water, is that enough?" "More than enough." He picked up the police report. The reminder. The obligation to call the police. The obligation to assist and rescue, it's all there. On the contrary, they violated regulations by verbally abusing you and forcing you into this mess. There's also subsequent slander. He opened a screenshot of the relatives group chat. Let's leave these aside for now. Let them continue. I nodded, that's what I meant too. Song Mingyan glanced at me. You really want a divorce. You want property. I placed a stack of bank statements in front of her. This is where my income went for the past 3 years. Mortgage. Household expenses. Lu family. Parents' medical expenses. Expenses. Lu Wanqing's credit card payments. And a few transfers I don't recognize. I want to investigate everything. Song Mingyan flipped through a few pages. She sneered. This isn't marriage, it's being leeched off by a family. I didn't reply. She then asked about insurance. I pushed several insurance policies over. Check these too. Especially the beneficiary changes for high-value accidental death insurance. Song Mingyan looked up. You suspect Lu Qing'an. I looked out the window. Cars streamed downstairs. The sunlight was blinding. It wasn't suspicion. It was just that I wouldn't reveal the answer from my past life. I only said I'd find out after checking. At noon, the hospital finally couldn't hold back anymore. Lu Qing'an called. Which law firm are you at? He took a deep breath. Are you determined to make a big scene? Mom's blood pressure is high from crying. All the relatives are here. You need to come over right now. I asked. Why are you going over there? I'm not going to apologize. He suppressed his anger. If you don't come, I'll let everyone see what kind of person you really are. I said. Okay. He was stunned. What? You have a lot of people. Right. I also have something to tell everyone. Half an hour later, Song Mingyan and I arrived at the hospital. The ward was packed with relatives. Joe Milan leaned against the headboard. Her eyes red from crying. She pounded the bed as soon as she saw me. You still have the nerve to come. I almost died. You didn't even call me mom. His sister immediately chimed in. Chingha. You have to have a conscience. Your mother-in-law is still an elder. No matter what. How could you just stand there and not help yesterday? Another relative said. If you kneel down and admit your mistake today, everyone might forgive you. Lu Qing'an stood by the hospital bed watching me. He thought I would be scared. I put down my bag. Took out my phone and a small speaker. Song Mingyan stood next to me and handed me her business card. Hello everyone. I am Ms. Shen Qingha's lawyer. Your statements may be legally preserved. The ward fell silent instantly. Joe Milan was stunned for a moment. Then cried even louder. You even brought a lawyer to scare me. My life is so miserable. I married this devilish daughter-in-law. I plugged in the small speaker and pressed play. The first segment was the warning signs dissuasion. The second segment was Joe Milan's insults about me being a spoilsport. The third segment was Lu Qing'an telling me to go into the water. The fourth segment was the rescue team leader's words. Non-professionals going into the water will only increase the difficulty of the rescue. The speaker's volume wasn't loud, but it was clear enough. Every sentence felt like a slap in the face. The blows landed on every face in the ward. Joe Milan's sobs gradually subsided. Lu Wanqing's face turned pale. Lu Qing'an strode forward, intending to turn off the speaker. Song Mingyan blocked his way. Mr. Lu, please watch your behavior. You're trying to seize evidence equipment. We'll call the police. Lu Qing'an's hand stopped. I turned off the speaker and looked at the relatives in the ward. Who else wants me to kneel? No one spoke. I looked at Joe Milan again. You illegally climbed over the railing. I called the police after my warnings failed. Your first words after being rescued weren't thanks for the rescue, but insults. Calling me a vicious woman. Now you're demanding compensation, medical expenses, nutrition expenses, and compensation for emotional distress. I placed a document on the bedside table. Okay. This is the lawyer's contact information. You can proceed with the legal process. Joe Milan's lips trembled. I'm your mother-in-law. I interrupted her. Not for long. Everyone in the ward looked at me. Lu Qing'an's face was ashen. I took out the divorce agreement and placed it in front of him to sign. He stared intently at me. Don't try to threaten me with divorce. I laughed. You've got it wrong. I said. Word by word. This isn't a threat. It's a notification. Lu Qing'an didn't sign. In front of all the relatives. He tore the divorce agreement in half. The scraps of paper fell to the ground. Joe Milan seemed to have regained her confidence. She immediately cried out. Look everyone. He's trying to force me to my death. I just came back from the brink of death. And he wants a divorce. Lu Wanqing also filmed a video with red eyes. Sister-in-law. You've disappointed me so much. I looked at his phone camera and calmly reminded him. Think carefully before you post this. Editing and spreading rumors are not the same thing. He bit his lip. His eyes full of resentment. I didn't say anything more because I knew he would post it. Sure enough. At 9 p.m. that night, a video went viral in the city. The title was glaring. Mother-in-law falls into water on Dragon Boat Festival. Daughter-in-law stands on the shore, coldly laughing and refusing to help. Afterwards, she even brought a lawyer to the hospital to force the elderly woman to sign a divorce agreement. In the video, I stood by the river, holding my phone. Joe Milan was crying and screaming in the water. The background was cut out, leaving only my cold face standing on the shore. Then, footage from the hospital was shown. The scene where I laid down the divorce papers was deliberately slowed down. The comments section exploded quickly. This woman is so cold-blooded. Even a bad mother-in-law is still a human life. Bringing a lawyer to the hospital is terrifying. Marrying an unvirtuous wife ruins 3 generations. I suggest the man divorce her immediately. This kind of woman is unacceptable. I leaned back on the sofa, taking screenshots one by one. Song Mingyan called. I saw it. I saw it. Should I post it now? I glanced at the time. There wasn't a rush. She smiled knowingly. Let the dust settle. I switched to Lu Wanqing's profile. She was live streaming. Joe Milan was lying in a hospital bed, a fever patch on her forehead, sobbing uncontrollably. I just wanted to take a picture of the dragon boat. How was I supposed to know the water would rise? She's my daughter-in-law. She can swim. She just watched me scream for help in the water. Lu Wanqing sobbed beside her. My brother is also in a lot of pain right now. He really loves his sister-in-law. But my sister-in-law was too rational. So rational it was almost heartless. The comments section was filled with sympathy. I recorded the conversation. Lu Qing'an also posted on his WeChat moments: family misfortune, mother injured, marriage at its end. Only in your most difficult times do you realize how distant your bedmate can be. I laughed when I saw the line about his bedmate. He finally took matters into his own hands. At 11 p.m., Song Mingyan sent a message: notarization complete. The main source of the rumor, the number of comments, screenshots, and the live stream recording are all saved. We can close the net. I replied. At 11:15 p.m., Song Mingyan's law firm account released a statement. The statement wasn't long, but every piece of evidence was clear. 1. Photos of the warning signs at the scene. 2. The complete video of Zhou Milan climbing over the fence. 3. Recordings of Shen Qinghe trying to dissuade her. 4. Police call logs. 5. Rescue team statement. 6. Preliminary hospital medical records. 7. Comparison of Lu Wanqing's edited video. 8. A lawyer's letter demanding legal action against the rumormongers. Finally, a complete video was attached. My voice came through clearly in the video. Ms. Zhou Milan. There are clear warning signs here. Do not climb over the railing. Do not enter the mudflats. I have already warned you. Please return to the safe area immediately. Zhou Milan cursed at me. You spoil sport. Lu Wanqing mocked. Sister-in-law. Are you jealous that my mom looks good in photos? After the river rose, Lu Qing'an yelled. You can swim. Go down and pull my mom back. I replied. I'm not a professional rescuer. Going down now will only add another victim. The rescue team leader said. Non-professionals going into the water will only increase the difficulty of the rescue. Once the full version was released, public opinion instantly reversed. Holy crap. It turned out the mother-in-law climbed over the railing herself. The daughter-in-law clearly called the police. This isn't cold-blooded. This is standard procedure. The man made his wife go into the water to save his mother. Why didn't he go in himself? The sister-in-law's video editing is disgusting. The old people can be really scary when they're bad. 1 a.m. Lu Wanqing deleted the video. 1:30 a.m. The live stream was shut down. 2 a.m. Lu Qing'an called me 3 times. But I didn't answer. He texted me. Are you determined to ruin our family? I replied. You guys started the live stream first. He quickly texted again. Mom's blood pressure is high again. Are you satisfied now? I'm going back to the hospital. If you're not feeling well, see a doctor. If you spread rumors, consult a lawyer. There was no response for a long time. The next morning, as soon as I arrived at the company, I found my colleagues staring at me. I used to work in the Claims and Risk Control Department of Omping Insurance. My supervisor, Sister Zhang, called me into her office. Her expression was somewhat complicated. I saw what happened on the Qinghe website. Are you all right? I nodded. It doesn't affect my work. She was silent for a few seconds. Then she pushed a document towards me. Yesterday, the Nanjiang Dragon Boat Race Scenic Area called. They want our assistance with the accident, the subsequent liability and insurance risk assessment. They specifically requested your participation. I took the document. This was the first opportunity in my life to deviate from the original path. In my previous life, I died. All the aftermath was irrelevant to me. In this life, I'm alive. And I'm standing on the other side of the accident report. Sister Zhang said. You're a party involved. We should have avoided suspicion. But the scenic area said. The on-site information you provided is very complete. The rescue team also agrees with your judgment. They want you as a provider of factual materials. My colleagues are assisting us with the internal risk control review. I opened the document, Public Safety Responsibility Assessment of the Nanjiang Dragon Boat Race Scenic Area. I closed the document. I can participate. But I need to keep a complete record to avoid conflicts of interest. Sister Zhang's gaze changed. You're calmer than I thought. I said. As a risk control professional, I can't rely on emotions to make judgments. At noon, an unfamiliar number called. I answered. Hello, Ms. Shen. This is Gu Yanzhou, Xinglan Risk Control. I had seen this name in the accident review group this morning. The third-party safety assessment company for the Nanjiang Dragon Boat Race. His voice was deep. I watched the complete video from yesterday. Your on-site handling was very professional. I didn't say thank you. I only asked Mr. Do if he was calling me for the accident report or for online buzz. There was a half-second silence on the other end of the phone, followed by a very soft laugh. For talent, I raised an eyebrow. He said Xinglan needs someone who understands insurance liability, on-site evidence, and accident risk control. Ms. Shen, would you be interested in discussing this? I looked at the accident report on my computer, my fingertips lightly tapping the desktop. Lu Qing'an was still busy playing the victim. Meanwhile, I stood at a new crossroads. I said we could talk, but I wouldn't accept empty offers. Position, authority, salary, project revenue sharing. Please bring the proposal. Mr. Du. On the other end of the phone, Du Yanzhou only replied, tomorrow at 3 p.m. I'll bring the proposal. Du Yanzhou was punctual. The next day at 3 p.m., he appeared in a dark gray suit at the coffee shop downstairs from Omping Insurance. He was even more aloof in person than in his file photo. He was tall and straight, with clean features. He held a folder in his hand. No fluff. No nonsense. The first thing he said after sitting down was, Ms. Shen, this is the position proposal Xinglan gave you. I took it. Large-scale event accident risk department. Deputy director. 3-month probation period. Salary 60% higher than my current one. Additional bonuses and revenue sharing for major projects. Directly reports to Gu Yanzhou. Authority includes accident review and risk reports. The right to review and veto suggestions for pre-event plans. I finished reviewing the document. Mr. Du was very generous. He looked at me. Not generous. You're worth the price. I looked up. Aren't you afraid of the controversy surrounding me? I handle risk control. I don't gossip. His tone was calm. Your handling of the situation in southern Xinjiang met professional standards. Your evidence in the public relations counterattack was also more stable than most PR teams. I smiled. Mr. Du doesn't seem like he's hiring an employee. He seems like he's conducting an accident review. He's used to me having a divorce case. Xinglan doesn't interfere with employees' private lawsuits. He paused. But if the other party attacks you using the accident itself, Xinglan can provide a third-party professional report. This statement was very measured. It wasn't about standing up for me, but about providing professional support. I closed the document. I'm considering 24 hours. Before he stood up, he pushed another document in front of me. This is a preliminary list of safety vulnerabilities for the Southern Xinjiang Dragon Boat Race. I want to hear your opinion. I glanced at it. The waterfront railings lack secondary barriers. There are insufficient patrol personnel during peak hours. The intervals between broadcast reminders are too long. Dangerous areas lack physical barriers. Rescue channels are blocked by street vendors. I picked up my pen. I added one last item, high-risk festival activities. There is a lack of timely mechanisms to stop illegal trespassing. Warning signs cannot replace on-site control. Du Yanzhou looked at the words. His eyes flickered and he understood. I put down my pen. Real risk control is not about finding someone to compensate after something goes wrong. It's about preventing people from making stupid mistakes before something goes wrong. He looked at me. After a few seconds, he said, Ms. Shen, I want to poach you even more. Before I could answer, my phone rang. Lu Qing'an hung up immediately. He called again and I hung up again. I answered the third time. I put it on speakerphone. What's up? Lu Qing'an's voice was deep. Where are you? I'm at my door. Why did you change the password? I picked up my coffee. It's my house. I need to notify you when I change the password. Du Yanzhou glanced at me. He didn't say anything. Lu Qing'an suppressed his anger. Don't go too far. My clothes and documents are all in there. I'll pack your clothes and send them to your company. You make a list of the documents. I'll check them and give them to you. What do you mean? You want to kick me out? I said calmly. Let me correct you. I'm asking you to leave my premarital property. The breathing on the other end of the phone quickened. Don't forget. I also have a share in the mortgage payments after our marriage. I laughed. Perfect timing. I checked my bank statements for the past 3 years. The mortgage payments after our marriage were all deducted from my personal salary account. The few transfers you made to me were marked as living expenses. The amount is less than half of what your sister paid off with her credit card. If you want to assert your rights, you can have a lawyer discuss it. Lu Qing'an fell silent. I continued. Furthermore, see you at the law firm tomorrow at 3 p.m. to discuss the divorce and property division. He finally exploded. Did you already plan this all along? Shen Qinghe. You're so cunning. I looked down at the shimmering light in my coffee cup. I can't compare to your family. You've even planned how to spend my money after I die. The other end of the phone was eerily quiet. I hung up. Du Yanzhou didn't ask what the sentence meant. He simply placed his business card on the table. Contact me if you need a professional accident report. I accepted the card and thanked him. The next day at 3 p.m. at the law firm, Lu Qing'an sat across from me, looking exhausted. Lu Jianming sat next to him. Zhou Milan wasn't there, but her voice came through Lu Wanqing's video call. Qing'an's house can't be given away. You've lived in that house for 3 years. Why do you say it's solely his? Song Mingyan sat next to me and opened the document. Let's clarify a few things first. First, the property was purchased by Ms. Shen Qinghe before the marriage. The down payment came from her parents' inheritance. The mortgage payments after the marriage were made from her personal income account. Currently, there is no evidence that Mr. Lu Qing'an made any substantial contribution to the property. Lu Jianming frowned. How can a family be so meticulously accounted for? Song Mingyan looked up. This is a divorce property settlement, not a family dinner. Lu Jianming blushed. Stumped. Song Mingyan continued. Second, after 3 years of marriage, Ms. Shen has paid a total of amount missing to Ms. Lu Jia and Ms. Lu Wanqing. The total amount paid or reimbursed was 286,400 yuan. This included medical expenses, credit card installments, and holiday transfers for home renovation loans. Lu Wanqing screamed on her phone. Those were all given to me voluntarily by my sister-in-law. I looked at the screen. Voluntarily doesn't mean you didn't have to choose. Especially since you used my identity information to apply for installments. Lu Wanqing's face turned pale instantly. Zhou Milan shouted from the side. What installments? Wanqing. What did you buy again? Lu Wanqing hurriedly closed the video. Lu Qing'an's face was ugly. Shen Qinghe. Do you have to push things to the extreme? I looked at him. I'm just clarifying the accounts. Song Mingyan pushed the third document in front of him. The third document stated that during Mr. Lu Qing'an's marriage, there were multiple large transfers of funds to his mother Zhou Milan's account and his sister Lu Wanqing's account. This part is considered marital property and is in dispute. We demand the return of Ms. Zhou's rightful share. Lu Qing'an suddenly looked up. I can't even give my mother money, I said. You can use your own money to be filial. Nobody's stopping you. You used our joint marital property to subsidize the whole family. And you want me to share the burden? No way. He stared intently at me. You've changed. He spoke those 3 words like an accusation. I replied calmly. I've become smarter. Lu Jianming slammed his hand on the table. Shen Qinghe. Don't be so aggressive. Song Mingyan immediately pressed down on the recording pen. Mr. Lu. Please watch your tone. Lu Jianming looked at the recording pen and shut his mouth abruptly. The negotiation lasted 2 hours. Lu Qing'an refused to sign and refused to return any money. He thought he could wear me down by dragging things out. As I left the law firm, he chased after me and blocked Qinghe downstairs. His tone suddenly softened. Do we really have to come to this? I admit I was in a bad mood yesterday. Mom was also frightened. Give me some time. I'll persuade her to apologize to you. I looked at him. I used to fall for this. When he softened his tone slightly, I thought there was still hope for our marriage. Now I just felt it was a waste of time. I said. No need. Let your mother lead the apology to the court. The gentleness in his eyes shattered Shen Qinghe's heart. You think you can win just because of your online popularity and a lawyer. I was about to speak when a black car pulled up. The window rolled down. Du Yanzhou sat in the back seat. His tone indifferent. The debriefing meeting for Miss Shen's accident is about to begin. Lu Qing'an looked at her. His expression instantly changing. Who is he? I didn't explain. I opened the car door and got in. Before closing the door, I said to Lu Qing'an, you'll find out soon enough. At the debriefing meeting for the Southern Xinjiang accident, Du Yanzhou arranged for me to sit in the audience. It wasn't special treatment, but because I was both the person who reported the incident and the provider of crucial evidence. The meeting room was filled with representatives from the scenic area management, the insurance company's third-party risk control team, the company's rescue team, and relevant departments. I organized the on-site information into a timeline in a table. 3:29 p.m. Zhou Milan climbed over the guardrail. 3:31 p.m. I photographed the warning signs and the violation scene. 3:32 p.m. I recorded a warning. 3:33 p.m. I dialed the police. 3:37 p.m. The scenic area's public address system announced a significant rise in water levels around 3:40 p.m. The rescue team arrived at 3:42 p.m. Every point in time was documented with corresponding evidence. The scenic area's safety supervisor, looking at the table, couldn't help but say, "Ms. Shen, your timeline is clearer than our internal report." I replied that I was used to it from handling claims. Du Yanzhou, sitting opposite me, didn't praise me but simply projected my data onto the screen. "This material can be used as a reference for reviewing the accident's responsibility," he said. Xinglan's preliminary assessment was that in this incident, the individual's unauthorized entry into the dangerous area was the direct cause. Insufficient secondary isolation and patrols at the scene were management loopholes. The person who reported the incident fulfilled their reasonable obligation to warn and assist. The person who reported the incident didn't mention that I was their daughter-in-law. Nor did they say I was the victim. They used the most accurate identity, which made me feel comfortable. After the meeting, Du Yanzhou handed me a formal invitation. It was the same plan as yesterday, but I added a clause, independent assessment authority for major accident projects. I looked up. He said, "You deserve this authority." I signed it. From that day forward, I resigned from Omping Insurance. I officially joined Xinglan Risk Control. It was also on this day that Song Mingyan discovered an anomaly in the policy. When she called me to the law firm, her face was colder than ever before. "Qinghe, prepare yourself." I sat down, and she pushed an insurance document towards me. "This high-value accidental death insurance was purchased in the second year of your marriage. The original beneficiary was the legal heir. 6 months ago, it was changed to Lu Qing'an." My fingertips paused slightly. The accident in my previous life, during the Dragon Boat Festival, also happened after this change. Song Mingyan continued. "Your electronic signature is on the beneficiary change application, but I've compared it with your other signatures. The handwriting and operating habits are problematic. More importantly, the login device on the day of the application wasn't your phone." She pushed a login record towards me. Device model, IP address, Lu Qing'an's company's office network. Looking at that line of text, my heart calmed completely. So that's how it is. It wasn't the money, it was my death that they decided to take the money on a whim. It was my life, they had it all planned out long ago. Song Mingyan cursed. "This is no longer an ordinary divorce." I asked if I could find more information. "Yes. I'll apply to the insurance company to retrieve the complete operation records. If necessary, I'll apply for a forensic examination." I nodded and said I'd check. He looked at me for a long time. "Are you all right?" I put away the documents. "I'm fine," he said. Not lying. When someone truly sees through the mud, they won't be sad anymore for getting their shoes dirty. That evening, I arranged to meet Lu Qing'an at a coffee shop in a shopping mall. It was safe with lots of people and security cameras. When he arrived, his eyes were bloodshot. "You've finally agreed to see me." I pushed a copy of the insurance policy in front of him. "Let me explain." He glanced down at it. His expression changed slightly. But it was enough. 6 months ago, the beneficiary of this high-value accidental death insurance policy was changed to you. Now the operating equipment is in your company. The electronic signature is suspected of being forged. He quickly calmed down. "I'm your husband. Isn't it normal to list me as the beneficiary?" I looked at him. "The problem is, I didn't know." He picked up his coffee, his fingers a little stiff. "Maybe you forgot." I smiled at Lu Qing'an. "I work in insurance claims risk control. You told me." "I forgot about the policy beneficiary change." He didn't speak. So I continued. "On the Dragon Boat Festival, you immediately made me go into the water. You knew very well I could swim. And you also knew that in those conditions, I might not come back." He suddenly looked up. "Shen Qinghe, don't make false accusations." People in the coffee shop were looking over. I didn't raise my voice. "I didn't say you intentionally killed someone. I'm just asking. Have you already thought about how much money you could get if something happened to me?" His face turned ashen. "Are you crazy?" I pushed another document over. "The insurance company has already started an internal investigation. Attorney Song will apply for a forensic examination. If the signature isn't mine, you know the consequences." He stared at the document. His Adam's apple bobbed. Chingha. We've been husband and wife. Why do you have to force me like this? These words made me burst out laughing. We've been husband and wife. So you changed the beneficiary to yourself. He shut up. I stood up. Luchingen. Divorce case. Property settlement. Defamation. Insurance fraud. I'll tell you everything. One by one. He looked up at me. For the first time, a clear panic appeared in his eyes. I looked down at him. You'd better pray for your money in your past life. You haven't had a chance to take it in this life yet. He frowned, referring to a past life. I didn't explain. Some things didn't need him to understand. I turned and left. As I walked out of the mall, Du Yanzhou sent me a message, tomorrow at 9 a.m. Xinglan Project Meeting. The first project. I've secured the City Star Tide Music Festival. In the Jiangshui incident, I survived. Now I'm going to start moving up. Xinglan Risk Control's meeting room was on the 28th floor. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows was the busiest commercial district in the southern city. When I went in, there were already more than a dozen people sitting inside. Someone looked up at me, their gaze not friendly. This was Ms. Shen from the Jiangbian incident, the person trending on social media. Du directly gave her the position of deputy director. Isn't that a bit too much? Her voice wasn't loud, but I heard her clearly. Du Yanzhou was sitting in the main seat. It was good that he didn't speak up for me. I didn't need him to back me up. I sat down and turned on my computer. The project manager began to introduce the City Star Tide Music Festival. 3-day event. Expected daily attendance of 40,000. Outdoor venue. 2 main stages. 6 secondary stages. In the temporary catering area. Cultural and creative area. And rest area. I was flipping through documents, my brow furrowing deeper and deeper. The project manager, Lin Zhou, across from me noticed and smiled. Deputy Director Shen objected, deliberately emphasizing the words deputy director. I looked up. The meeting room fell silent. I projected the first document onto the screen. The site drainage map was missing. This area slopes from north to south. In case of heavy rain, water would accumulate behind the main stage on the south side. Lin Zhou frowned. The weather forecast said it would be cloudy on the day of the event. I switched to another document. This was data on short-duration heavy rainfall during the same period over the past 5 years. Cloudy doesn't mean there won't be localized heavy rain. Large events can't rely solely on sunny day plans. While someone looked down at their documents, I continued with the second. The cable routing passed through low-lying areas without sufficient elevation and waterproofing. If water accumulated, there was a risk of electric shock. Someone in the meeting room's expression changed. The third medical point was over 600 meters from the main stage and the core area of the crowd, separated by the catering area. There was a risk of sudden heatstroke, stampedes, and heart problems. The crucial time for handling this situation will be delayed. The fourth exit design is flawed. Exit 3 intersects with the cultural and creative area's traffic flow. It's prone to congestion during peak departure times. Lin Zhou finally couldn't hold back. Deputy Director Shen, he said. You're new here, so you might not be familiar with our previous procedures. We've done this kind of music festival many times. Nothing's ever happened. I looked at him. Nothing's happened doesn't mean the plan is safe. It just means you've been lucky before. This statement silenced the meeting room even more. Lin Zhou's face darkened. You're negating the entire project team. I said I was pointing out the risks. If the project team can't accept the risk warnings, then Xinglan isn't doing risk control, they're gambling with the organizers' lives. Du Yanzhou finally spoke. Shen Qinghe. Your suggestions. I quickly listed 5 rectifications: add temporary drainage ditches, elevate all low-lying cables and add waterproof protection, add medical points on both sides of the main stage, move the cultural and creative stalls next to exit 3 back 20 meters, add a rainstorm evacuation plan and pedestrian zone broadcasts. Lin Zhou sneered. The cost will increase by at least 300,000. The organizers won't agree. I opened the last page. If there's an electric shock, stampede, or widespread congestion, there's the risk of insurance companies refusing to pay, administrative penalties, and brand damage. The conservative estimate is over 30 million. I paused. 300,000 is just to ensure nothing goes wrong. Du Yanzhou looked at everyone. Modify according to Shen Qinghe's plan. Give me the new contingency plan before you leave work today. Lin Zhou's face turned pale after the meeting. He stopped me in the break room. Deputy Director Shin. Just because President Gu values you doesn't mean you can overturn someone else's work right away. I took a glass of water. What I overturned wasn't work. It was loopholes. He sneered. You became famous because of a family accident. You really think you understand large-scale events? I looked at him. Manager Lin. I don't need your approval. The results will be recognized after the project ends. He wanted to say something more, but Gu Yanzhou walked from the end of the corridor. Lin Zhou immediately fell silent. Gu Yanzhou didn't look at him, only handed me a document. The organizers will come at 4 p.m. You will present the rectification plan. Lin Zhou's face changed again. I accepted the materials. The afternoon meeting was even more difficult than the internal meeting. The organizer's representative frowned as soon as he heard about the extra money. Our budget is already very tight. We've never done this much work before. I directly placed the risk cost sheet in front of him. This isn't about paying for peace of mind. It's about paying for the operating license. His face darkened. And I continued. You've invited 3 popular singers this time. Their fans are mostly between 18 and 25 years old. The front row is crowded. And people are running around in the rain. Excitement is a high-risk factor. The 300,000 yuan rectification fee is less than 1% of the box office revenue. But it can reduce the probability of an accident to a controllable range. The organizer fell silent. I then showed an evacuation simulation diagram. This is the crowd situation 15 minutes after the original plan ended. The red area has exceeded the safe density. We're switching to the new plan. This is after the rectification. The data is very clear. The organizer's representative was silent for a long time. Finally, he looked at Gu Yanzhou. Mr. Gu, your new deputy director is quite ruthless. Gu Yanzhou said calmly. He's using data to speak for himself. The organizer smiled bitterly. Let's revise it. I won the first internal battle. When I got home that night, I received a message from Lu Qing'an. You went to Xinglan Risk Control. I didn't reply. But he sent another message. Did you already have a relationship with that Gu Yanzhou? I looked at this message and immediately took a screenshot and sent it to Song Mingyan. Song Mingyan replied. Okay. I laughed. Lu Qing'an is still stuck in the old ways of male-female relationships. He thinks I left him because I found another man. He will never understand that I left him because I finally found myself again. The first day of the music festival was sunny. Lin Zhou smiled meaningfully as he passed by me. Deputy Director Shin. It seems your rainstorm contingency plan won't be needed. I'm checking the cable height behind the main stage. It's best if it's not needed. He shrugged. The organizers are saying you're too nervous. I looked up. The best outcome for risk control is that everyone thinks you're overreacting. Qin Yi also arrived. He had accepted Xinglan's invitation to participate in the event as an external rescue consultant. He was wearing a black rescue suit and glanced at the scene. Your revised traffic flow is good. Exit 3 is much more spacious. I nodded. Where's the medical point? Both sides were set up. The stretcher access was also cleared. 3 p.m. The crowd began to surge. Fans, holding light boards, rushed towards the main stage. I stood in the monitoring room, watching the crowd heat map on the screen. Gu Yanzhou walked in. The situation is currently normal. The front row is a bit dense. I've already instructed the on-site security to divert the flow. He glanced at the screen. Lin Zhou said your requirements are too strict. I didn't turn around. What does Mr. Gu think? He said. I only look at the results. I laughed. Me too. 6 p.m. Suddenly, a dark cloud descended on the horizon. People started taking pictures. Wow. That cloud is so cool. I glanced at the weather radar and immediately picked up the walkie-talkie. Attention all areas. There may be short-term heavy rainfall within 15 minutes. The main stage electrical team is rechecking the waterproofing. The medical point is preparing a rainy weather access route. Security guides the audience to move back into the designated areas behind the barriers. Don't crowd towards the exits. Lin Zhou interjected on the walkie-talkie. It hasn't rained yet. Will guiding them in advance cause panic? I stared at the screen, making a gentle announcement, without mentioning evacuation. The only warnings were about the changing weather and slippery ground. Gu Yanzhou picked up another walkie-talkie and did as Shen Qinghe instructed. At 6:17, the rain began to fall. It wasn't a light drizzle, but a downpour. Within minutes, water began to accumulate on the ground. The low-lying area behind the main stage quickly became a watercourse. If temporary drainage ditches hadn't been dug beforehand, the water would have flooded the cable area. In the monitoring room, Lin Zhou's face turned pale. I didn't look at him. Received report of someone slipping at medical point 1. Stretcher access cleared. Increased crowd at exit 3. Activate beeline diversion. Open the back passage for the cultural and creative area. Fans are too densely packed on the left side of the main stage. Security team 2 enters. Do not push people. Use barriers for soft diversion. The walkie-talkie kept buzzing. My eyes were glued to the heat map. Every time the red area expanded, I gave instructions in advance. 20 minutes later, the rain began to subside. There was no stampede, no electric shocks, and no large-scale congestion. Only a few audience members slipped and suffered minor injuries. They were quickly taken to the medical station for treatment. When the organizer's representative rushed into the monitoring room, his hair was soaked. He looked at the screen, then at me. Deputy Director Shen. Luckily, we listened to you. I took off my headphones. Now is not the time to be thankful. The ground is slippery after the rain. The risk of the event being over is higher. Notify the host to extend the interaction by 10 minutes. The event will be held in batches. The organizer immediately nodded. Lin Zhou stood in the corner, his face grim. Du Yanzhou looked at him. Compile the records of tonight's handling. We'll review it at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Lin Zhou said in a low voice. Yes. At 1 a.m. The first day of the music festival ended. The organizer sent a message in the internal group. The Xinglan Risk Control Team handled the situation promptly tonight. Special thanks to Deputy Director Shen Qinghe. The next 2 days will be carried out according to Deputy Director Shen's plan. The company group also exploded. Deputy Director Shen is amazing. If it weren't for the advance rectification today, I can't even imagine what would have happened. Who put that drainage ditch? Help. I looked at the message but didn't reply. Du Yanzhou handed me a bottle of water. He became famous overnight. I accepted it. And nothing went wrong. Nothing going wrong is the biggest victory for risk control. I smiled. My phone suddenly vibrated. Lu Qing'an sent a screenshot. It was a news notification. Star Tide Music Festival. Heavy rain. No accidents. Evacuation. Female risk control head Shen Qinghe sparks heated discussion. He asked, "Are you feeling smug now?" I replied. This time I didn't restrain myself. A few seconds later, he called again. I answered. His voice was hoarse. "Shen Qinghe, were you waiting for this day? Waiting to leave the Lu family? Waiting to let me see you in your glory?" I stood outside the empty venue, looking at the lights after the rain in the distance. Lu Qing'an said, "You're overthinking it." He remained silent as he spoke. I'm walking forward. Not so you can see me. There was no sound on the other end of the phone. So I hung up. The next day, the case of handling the rainstorm at the music festival was featured in industry media. On the third day, Xinglan Risk Control received 3 new project offers. Du Yanzhou announced directly at the weekly meeting that Shen Qinghe would receive the highest percentage of the bonus for the City Star Tide project. Lin Zhou sat below, his face ashen. I stood up and said only one sentence, for the next project. I hope the emergency response plan will be implemented in advance during the investment promotion stage, rather than patching up loopholes at the last minute. The silent people in the meeting room laughed at me. I finally understood that true success is not about silencing your enemies, but about making everyone who questions you listen to you. Lu Qing'an's counterattack came quickly. 3 days after the music festival ended, a self-media account published a long article titled, "From Cold-Blooded Daughter-in-Law to Risk Control Queen, Did Shen Qinghe Turn Her Mother-in-Law's Injury into a Rise to Power?" The article was very sinister. He didn't dare to directly say that I deliberately didn't help people, but only used a lot of hints. He accurately recorded and photographed the incident before reporting it to the police. Was he prepared in advance? After his mother-in-law was injured, he quickly divorced and joined a risk control company. Was it a coincidence or a scheme? A family tragedy became his career springboard. Below was an anonymous interview with Lu Qing'an. Although it was blurred, those familiar with her would immediately recognize her. She said, "I just want to say that being too calm can sometimes be terrifying." When I finished reading the article, I was doing a project review at Xinglan. Many people in the meeting room were secretly watching me. Lin Zhou had his head down, seemingly lost in thought. Du Yanzhou placed the tablet in front of me. "Do we need the company's PR department to intervene?" I shook my head. No. I'll do it myself. He looked at me. Are you sure? Are you sure? I texted Song Mingyan. Lu Cheng'an stepped in. Song Mingyan replied quickly. I saw it. This time, I won't send a lawyer's letter. I'll directly add the supplementary materials to the lawsuit. I'll say something about adding something like the progress of the insurance beneficiary change verification. There was a few seconds of silence on the other end. You need to make it public. Not the details. Just the parts that will shut him up. That afternoon, I posted a long article on my own account. No sob stories. No lamentations. Just a timeline and documents. Part 1, Progress on the Determination of Responsibility for the Dragon Boat Festival Accident. Part 2, The Rescue Team Statement. Part 3, The Court has accepted the defamation lawsuit. Part 4, The marital property liquidation has entered the investigation process. Part 5, One More Thing, regarding the abnormal change of beneficiary for a high-value accidental death insurance policy under Mr. Lu Cheng'an's name involving me. I have entrusted a lawyer to legally obtain the relevant information. I will pursue any attempt to distort a public safety incident into private hype to the end. This statement immediately caused an uproar in the comments section. Wait. What does abnormal change of beneficiary mean in the context of a high-value accidental death insurance policy? So, the man asked her to go into the water to save someone. There might be insurance behind it. It's chilling to think about. No wonder the man was so eager to jump out and smear me. An hour later, the self-media account deleted the post. 2 hours later, Lu Cheng'an called. And I answered. He was practically gritting his teeth. Why did you post about the insurance? I was sitting in my office, looking out the window. I felt scared. Shen Qinghe. You have no evidence that I did anything intentionally. I said. Did you do it intentionally? I countered. I only said there was an abnormal change in beneficiaries. It's under investigation according to law. What's your rush? His breathing was heavy. What do you want from me to stop? I said. Sign a divorce agreement. Return the disputed property. Issue a public apology. Cooperate with the insurance investigation. He sneered. You're dreaming. I nodded. See you in court then. After hanging up, Du Yanzhou knocked and came in. The Municipal Bureau of Culture and Tourism wants to hire Xinglan to develop a safety renovation plan for festivals. The Southern Xinjiang Dragon Boat Race is also included. I looked up at the Nanjiang River. He looked at me. You can avoid it. I closed my laptop. That river almost swallowed me. Now I need to go back and change its rules. 3 days later, Du Yanzhou and I attended a project meeting at the Bureau of Culture and Tourism. At the meeting, someone pointed out that the Nanjiang River accident had a significant public impact. We hope that subsequent renovations can balance tourist experience and safety. I opened the plan. Safety is not the opposite of experience. Without safety, experience is just a fluke. I proposed a complete renovation. Secondary safety barriers were added to dangerous mudflats. Non-crossable barriers were used in high-risk areas. Water level monitoring screens were added during the Dragon Boat Race. Voice warnings were issued for any unauthorized crossings. Rescue channels were cleared of obstructions. Patrol personnel were deployed in zones based on visitor density. Drone patrols were conducted during peak periods. Some people asked about the cost and necessity. I showed them the water level curve from the day of the Dragon Boat Festival accident. From the first tourist crossing the barrier to the mudflats being submerged. Only 11 minutes had passed. People make mistakes quickly, and the water flows even faster. The purpose of the risk control design is to not leave life and death to chance. The meeting room fell silent. The final plan was approved. After the project ended, Du Yanzhou and I walked out of the meeting building. He said that when you said that today, it was like you were giving yourself a new judgment. I looked at the river in the distance. Not for myself. I paused. It was for those who came after. That night, Lu Cheng'an was trending again. Not because of me. Because someone discovered that he had transferred money to that blogger multiple times before the self-media article was published. Song Mingyan sent me the screenshot. Good news. The chain of rumors is now more complete. I laughed when I saw that screenshot of the transfer. Lu Cheng'an wanted to ruin my reputation. He ended up handing me a knife instead. The Lu family started to fall apart. First, Zhou Milan cried on her hospital room livestream, only to be shut down by netizens' insults. Then, when Lu Wanqing was looking for a job, her employer discovered she was involved in cyberbullying. Editing. and credit installment disputes. Her job offer was cancelled. Finally, Lu Qing'an was summoned by the company. The reason being that his negative public image was affecting client cooperation. The family, initially united against outsiders, quickly turned into mutual accusations. The breaking point was Lu Wanqing. That afternoon, he suddenly called me. When I answered, his voice was very low, completely different from his usual coquettish tone. "Sister-in-law, I want to talk to you," I said. "Call me Miss Shin." He was silent for a few seconds. "Miss Shin, I have something on my hands." I didn't ask immediately. He couldn't hold it in. "The family group chat history. About your insurance and compensation." My fingers hovered over the keyboard. He seemed relieved. "My outstanding installments. Can you please stop pursuing this? And that video of the cyberbullying. I can apologize. But can you please not sue me?" I laughed at Lu Wanqing. "Do you think you still have the right to negotiate?" She got anxious. "Those ideas weren't my fault. My mom and brother made me do them. My mom made me edit the video. My brother revised the text. And the insurance thing. I've only heard them mention it a few times." I said calmly. "Send the documents to Attorney Song. We'll discuss your liability after verifying their authenticity. Can't you agree to my request first?" "No." He gritted his teeth. "Shen Qinghe, you're really ruthless." I replied. "You all used to say I was too soft." The voice on the other end of the phone sounded unfamiliar. 10 minutes later, Song Mingyan received a compressed file. He called back quickly. His voice was even colder than last time. "Qinghe's family is really despicable." In the chat history, the timeline was long. Half a year ago, Lu Qing'an posted in the family group. "Qinghe's accident insurance coverage isn't low. It's best to change the beneficiary to me." "That's normal between husband and wife," Zhou Milan replied. "Soft-hearted towards women. Just appease her. If something really happens, the money can't fall into the hands of her relatives." Lu Wanqing sent an emoji. "Sister-in-law is such a good swimmer. What could possibly happen?" The day before the Dragon Boat Festival, Zhou Milan mentioned in the group chat that she wanted to go to the front to take pictures at the Dragon Boat race tomorrow. Qinghe would definitely interfere again. Lu Qing'an replied. "Just ignore him." On the night of the accident, after Zhou Milan was hospitalized, another message appeared in the group chat. "If only Zhou Milan had gone into the water then. At least I wouldn't have suffered like this." Lu Wanqing lamented that he didn't go in. "Otherwise the public opinion would be different now." Lu Qing'an, don't talk nonsense. First, shift the blame onto him. He should at least pay the medical expenses and compensation. Having read this far, I felt no anger, only clarity. When a person is completely rotten, it's not surprising what they say, Song Mingyan said. If these chat records are verified, they will be helpful in defamation, property disputes, and insurance irregularities, especially the part about how he regretted not going in. Public opinion is incredibly damaging. I said I wouldn't go public yet. You can wait and see if Lu Qing'an lies again. Song Mingyan laughed. Fine. Let him come to me. Lu Qing'an didn't keep me waiting long. 3 days later, he gave an interview to a financial media outlet. He was wearing a shirt, looking haggard. He said to the camera, "I admit my marriage with Qinghe had problems, but I never schemed against him. I just hoped he could show more kindness to the elderly. As for insurance, that's a normal arrangement between husband and wife. He's using it to attack me now. I'm heartbroken." Looking at those 2 words, heartbroken, I immediately forwarded the video to Song Mingyan. That evening, Song Mingyan released a second statement. This time, there was no lengthy explanation, only privately edited chat logs, screenshots of insurance transaction IP records, Lu Qing'an's interview, a comparison of the before and after, and the formal lawsuit notice. The most glaring sentence was quickly screenshotted and forwarded by netizens. "It's a pity she died." The entire internet exploded. That sentence was too vicious. It meant she hoped her daughter-in-law would drown. Earlier, she said she was heartbroken. What a performance. A family trying to kill their own child. The female lead called the police for help. They were disappointed she hadn't died. Public opinion completely reversed. Beyond repair. Lu Qing'an's company issued a statement that night. Lu Qing'an's personal affairs caused a negative impact. His project management duties have been suspended. Media began staking out Zhou Milan's hospital room. Lu Wanqing was so attacked online that she had to close her account. Lu Jianming called me. I didn't want to answer. but Song Mingyan said I could record it. I answered. Lu Jianming's voice sounded much older. Things have escalated to this point. It's bad for everyone. I didn't speak. But he continued. Ching'an lost his job because of your mother. Zhou Milan is also being attacked so much she's afraid to go out. Wanqing is young and doesn't understand. Can you? No, I interrupted. He choked me, saying, Uncle Lu, you feel it's bad for everyone now because the consequences have finally fallen on yourselves. He was silent for a long time. Even if we were wrong, you shouldn't have driven your family to such a desperate situation. I laughed. When you traded my life for a house in your past life, did you ever consider ending it all? He didn't understand. I didn't explain. I said, see you in court. After hanging up, I went to Nanjiang. The new guardrail wasn't finished yet. The construction team was clearing debris from the mudflats. Du Yanzhou was there too. He saw me coming. Why are you here today? I asked. Look. The river wind is strong. It's making my eyes sting. I stood inside the guardrail, looking at the water that swallowed me in my past life. Du Yanzhou didn't ask what I was thinking. He just handed me a safety helmet. You have to wear it when you enter the construction area. I took it and fastened it. The action was very light. Yet it felt like some kind of ritual. I was finally not the one pushed into the water. I was the one standing on the shore, rebuilding the guardrail. The City Public Festival Safety Summit was held at the end of June. Xinglan Risk Control got the keynote speaker position. Du Yanzhou was originally the keynote speaker. But the day before the conference, he put the presentation materials on my desk. You speak tomorrow. I'll look up and see if you're sure. You made the plan. You built the model. Southern Xinjiang Transformation and Xingqiao. The music festival case was also recommended by you. You're more suitable than me. I flipped through the documents. Dynamic risk assessment model for large-scale festivals. This was the first complete model I made after joining Xinglan. It didn't just consider the venue's capacity and weather, it also included crowd emotions, social media buzz, short-term weather changes, temporary traffic disruptions, and the rescue radius for vendors, all in the assessment. I asked the board for their approval. Du Yanzhou said calmly. 2 people disagreed. Then I asked them to come up with a better model than yours. They didn't. I laughed. President Gu is good at shutting me up. I learned it from you. The next day at the summit, the audience included representatives from the Culture and Tourism Bureau, scenic area managers, insurance companies, event organizers, and peer risk control companies. As I walked onto the stage, I heard people whispering, "This is Shen Qinghe. Who's been so popular lately? He's not very experienced. Is he? He rose to fame through a few hot cases. He really dares to talk about models." I opened the first slide of the PPT. I didn't introduce myself for long. The first slide was a water level change chart of the Nanjiang Dragon Boat Festival accident. The second slide was the Xingqiao Music Festival. The first image shows a heat map of crowds on the night of the rainstorm. The third image shows the Nanjiang River after its renovation. The second image shows a safety zoning map for the Dragon Boat Race. I said there are signals before any accident occurs. The value of risk control lies in these signals, stopping it before it becomes a casualty. The audience fell silent. I finished explaining the model in 30 minutes. Every indicator had a case study. Every suggestion had a cost comparison. Every risk point corresponded to actual responsibility. The QA session began. A representative from a competing company stood up. Deputy Director Shen. Your model is beautiful. But the actual implementation cost is too high. Many small and medium-sized events can't afford it. I nodded. That's why the model is divided into 3 levels. I switched to another page. The basic version is suitable for events with fewer than 5,000 people. The standard version is suitable for events with 5,000 to 30,000 people. The enhanced version is suitable for events with more than 30,000 people or outdoor high-risk events near water or mountains. Risk control isn't about doing all events at the highest cost. It's about spending every penny on real risk points. The other person didn't sit down immediately. But how can you prove it's more effective than traditional solutions? I switched to the last page. The Xingqiao Music Festival after its renovation. On the night of the rainstorm, the maximum pedestrian density in the core area decreased by 31%. Medical response time was shortened to within 4 minutes. The dwell time at the main exit decreased by 46%. After the trial operation of the Nanjiang renovation project, Illegal crossing behavior decreased by 92%. These are data, not feelings. Applause broke out from the audience. Gu Yanzhou, sitting in the first row, raised his hand to clap. After the summit, a representative from the Municipal Culture and Tourism Bureau approached Gu Yanzhou and me. We hoped Xinglan would take the lead in piloting safety standards for large-scale festivals throughout the city. Gu Yanzhou looked at me. I said yes, but I have a suggestion. The representative asked what it was. The pilot project needs independent accident review rights and the right to veto rectification suggestions. Otherwise, the risk control report will only become decoration for the event organizers. The representative pondered for a moment. This needs discussion. I nodded that we could discuss it. But without authority, there is no closed-loop responsibility. Gu Yanzhou added from the side. Xinglan supports Deputy Director Shen's opinion. That night, I received a formal letter of intent. Shen Qinghe, the person in charge of the pilot project for safety of large-scale festivals throughout the city. It was also that day I submitted my plan to leave my job and start my own business.